The select board meeting of November 21st, 2024 is in session at 6:31. In an effort to make meetings more effective and efficient, the select board is made to change to the public comment portion of the meeting. Citizens or others wishing to address the select board during a meeting, they do so during the public comment portion of the meeting. Typically, this is reserved for materials that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. All speakers will be heard before people are given a second opportunity to speak. Once the public comment portion of the meeting is over, the public will be able to speak if the chair determines their input is needed during another portion of the meeting or at the end of the meeting if there are comments. For participants on Zoom, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Please only use the Zoom chat for technical issues such as room audio, or you can't raise your hand or things of that nature. Please don't comment or question in the chat as it is distracting for all. The intent of this new policy is not to stifle community input, but rather to allow the select board to be more effective and efficient in our work. People are welcome to always email the members of the select board at any time with feedback or questions. Our email addresses are on the town's website and on the notice on the sign-in table. All right. This is for public to be heard for issues that are not on the agenda. And since you were here first, if you want to ask your questions.
My name is Phil Danielson. I'm here just for an update on the affordable housing, in particular the property on Railroad Circle. And before the meeting started, people were kind enough to share that it sounds like not much is going to happen until the spring when there's a study being done. And at this point, the limitations are something like maybe 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, at the JCDC, we had previously shared that we got a preliminary report which said that the soil would support 5 bedrooms, not 5 units, but 5 bedrooms. So you could imagine up to 3, maybe you did 2 2s and a 1, something like that. But yeah, so we've been trying to, for the last couple of meetings in the JCDC, we've been trying to just do information gathering. So one thing we did is we had somebody come and give an estimate on completely refurbishing the house. Just because we thought that information would be valuable, not necessarily that we're going to refurbish the house, but just understanding how much that might be, would be beneficial for us. So we got that. Oh gosh, we had the septic system, existing septic system for the house that exists. We had that looked at. Seems fine. They'd need to see it with water running to get a full thing, but it seemed fine based on what they did, so some of that kind of stuff. The next thing is to get the official wetland designation, and we were not quick enough to be able to get that for this season. So we were on the list to get that for when things thaw up again in the spring, if they ever freeze.
Just one follow-up with that. You mentioned I'll call it the McMullen house. Is one of the options reselling that house?
Yep. Yeah, and the minutes are, I just happen to know because I actually read the minutes today. We did talk about it a little bit at the last meeting too, and those are available in the minutes too.
Thanks. I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
And there's a possibility that more bedrooms could be added, but if you do one of the higher end, fancier septic systems kind of thing, but this was a more basic. It gave us 5 bedrooms, but there was a caveat that said more bedrooms may be possible if, but there was no, follow-up on, how much is the if?
What's the cost of putting in the system?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you. That was really my reason for coming here. So
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Talked about a lot of fun stuff tonight too. If you want to stay for the rest.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate all the time you guys put in. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments in public to be heard that are not on the agenda? Anybody online?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So we will move on to review the Affordable Housing Committee report recommendations. And we have priority recommendations from the report that they had given us. And so we're just here to talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm interested in what the next steps might be. I mean, I think we have to agree as a board,
Right.
which ones we like, which ones we don't like, if there are any we don't like, I think if there are disagreements. So I guess maybe that's what we're doing now is
Yes.
talk about what we feel about them. All right, cool.
On the top, On
I'll
the,
make some copies, it would be helpful too.
Is that copy of the recommendations and slideshow?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
on
I
the,
have that.
the top line findings and recommendations, I'll read the priority of the, on the first, on the primary sheet. The priority recommendations are prioritize municipal wastewater for the Riverside District, set a completion date. Create an infrastructure reserve fund to support townwide infrastructure needs. Permit, and this would be the select board, deals with those issues. Permit multifamily housing everywhere single-family housing is permitted. Reduce and or eliminate minimum lot sizes, especially in the village and village center districts. Allow and incentivize smaller units and PUDs, for example, clusters of single dwellings or multi-family dwellings, e.g., for example, duplexes, triplexes, etc. Update density calculations to allow and incentivize smaller, denser housing options and more housing types. And that was the top line. And one infrastructure reserve fund, this would need to be labeled something different because you're talking, they're talking wastewater because we have reserve funds for roads and bridges. Which is also
A specific, okay. More specific.
Where are you reading from now?
This was the top line on the first
Yeah,
page.
then the next thing you said
That was mine in my head.
Okay, so I actually have sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I just,
I found it a little bit confusing. There was like a couple different places where things were listed.
exactly, but,
So there was the priority recommendations on page 1 of that paper document.
yeah,
And then in the slideshow that Chuck has, there's those 7 plus 2 more.
right.
Update fee structure and remove eligibility requirement of construction prior to 1955.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the slide of the paper report, there's infrastructure investments, municipal community wastewater, and create infrastructure reserve fund.
So some were
So
overlapping.
they were kind of a little bit
Yeah.
all over the place in terms of
Well,
what.
were
That's-
some of them the 2003, 2023 suggestions, and some were the 2024?
Well, that's why I went with the top line.
The top line was from this year, is that right? What you just
No, but I
read?
think
Priority recommendations, these right here, are these part of the 2023 or the 2024?
the one that Catherine wrote out loud, is on the first page of the report saying, here are the current recommendations that are the priority.
Right,
Is what she just read.
right. And then,
Plus 2 more, I think.
well, that was only on the first sheet, and then we went into the report based on the papers I had, so.
Yeah.
But you're right, there was also, as you said, discussion in there, but when it says, like infrastructure, they talked about, identify Riverside, which is part of the number 1, and that's the wastewater. And then the infrastructure, those are the first 2, that's why they're highlighted in blue. I think the highlights are colors, indicating that they really were focusing on, because the top one.
The text on pages, whatever it is, like 3 and 4.
Exactly.
Or 5 and 6.
Exactly. And the rest, and they did note that roads are infrastructure investment that could decrease the cost of the houses, rather than, private, or we can incentivize it, use it, that kind of stuff for features that they were talking about. But, the top 2 are the ones the select board is responsible for. The rest,
The top 2, what do you mean, the top 2, what do you mean?
prioritize wastewater and designate it to be the Riverside District. And then create the reserve fund. And then the rest are significant PC. Is how.
So regardless of who and how these get done, is it appropriate to just talk about the board and where I know we're not gonna make a motion.
What are you looking at?
Priority recommendations.
What document is that?
I don't know.
It's this one.
Oh, it's that, okay.
Priority recommendations, prioritize municipal rate.
Yep, gotcha.
So shouldn't we just publicly say where we're at with each of these, regardless of how hard that might be, or who's gonna do it, or whatever? Because.
That makes sense, actually. I mean,
So should we can we just go down the list?
yeah, you feel free to start.
I agree on the first one, which is prioritize municipal wastewater for the riverside. I think we've all kind of been there. I
Fact is, we
don't think
told-
I don't think I'm stretching to say that we're all on board with that,
Yes.
but
Fact is,
maybe.
that's what we told the engineer.
Yeah.
We wanted to focus on Riverside, particularly the teacher property, because that gives you the best bang for your buck to start with.
Okay, and I never know when the appropriate time to bring up a suggestion is, and this is something that will have a lot further discussion. And again, I'm not looking to upset anybody. But I have an idea of, one of the recommendations we got from the woman who spoke last select board, who really helped us understand the kind of the next steps of how to maybe get some of that money, how to like start getting it, was to create a wastewater commission, I believe she
Committee,
said.
like a task force.
A committee.
Mm.
I think we should strongly consider turning our affordable housing committee into that committee.
I think, well, I would say that we use our public works person,
Yes,
chair of
true.
that committee, and that we actually use people who have skills. I mean, there could be somebody from the affordable housing, but I think this is big enough and important enough if you're gonna have project management and things like that from that.
It is true that
You should have
the
skills.
members may need to change,
Yeah.
but I think, and based on the report
should
that
be
I got
skill set.
further in here, it seems like the Affordable Housing Committee is kind of saying, here's what we came up with, right?
Right.
And, as members have pointed out, if you're not gonna do anything with it, there's not much point in us meeting. Like, I don't know that there's a lot more work for them to do, and the number one priority, as they're stated and as we're stating, is this wastewater. So why don't, instead of creating a new committee, why don't we just say, and I don't know the logistics and all the whatever, we got a whole new charter or all the things, I don't know all the things. But like, we just say, okay, you guys are now the wastewater
I
committee,
do think-
and yes, we're gonna need some people that are good at wastewater, and I think we, that lady threw four, what's his name, under the bus last week.
Yeah, and there are several other people in town that have that background.
Yeah,
And I mean, because it is such a big deal. And, I'm sure the public works person is gonna need support, but we really should look at people with a certain amount of skill set.
well, it's just an
So,
idea.
well,
So I know less than you do, Eric, about how committees come into being and
Yeah.
disappear and stuff. My concern is that, I don't even know who's still on the Affordable Housing Committee, but they might I think Wayne was or is, I think Chuck is or was. They might be like, no, I don't want that, I'm not interested in that. So I
Right,
wonder,
but the committee, and I get that, and I appreciate all of their work and all the volunteers, but we also get a little, flack for how many committees we have.
Right.
So, I don't know that the biggest thing the town needs is a sixth committee or seventh.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So like,
oh,
um,
I mean, I think that.
I just can't imagine having
SJ is here.
an affordable housing committee
I think,
who says to go investigate wastewater and then also create a wastewater committee, It
Right.
just feels weird.
and Chuck has his hand up and SJ is here. I was under the impression the Affordable Housing Committee was kind of like, okay, like, we're good, we're done. There's our report. We'll
But they,
talk to you guys later,
but they'll,
which would mean like that dissolving and then creating a wastewater committee, but.
yeah, because they talked about, that they would continue to produce yearly housing reports and, monitor progress and things like that, which could still be done.
So I agree that we need a committee and we need people who are invested in that. And I haven't been on the board as long as you have, so adding a committee doesn't feel weird to me, but I hear what you're saying about.
Yeah, we got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about it. All right, who put up their hand first? Because you said there's
Only
somebody.
Chuck, no, only
Chuck.
Chuck. I said SJ is here, I said. but-
Okay, so Chuck had his hand
I
up.
really appreciate your considering this. We have been closer to wastewater Riverside 3 times previous to this. And twice, once the select board really didn't, move ahead. The other 2 times a committee was formed and went to die there. I would encourage you to investigate governance and move the governance more quickly, like with a commission who's going to be responsible. I mean, someone who is building something that they're gonna run. Maybe you have, break the ice and have a conversation with one of our water department. But have people who are gonna be in charge doing it, and maybe people who live there. I don't see the expertise on the housing, when I look at Montgomery as my model, they have, they moved very quickly through this, and they started with a commission. And there were members of the select board on the commission, and they moved, they moved through it really quickly. And they were building something that they were gonna be responsible for. And I really think this is all gonna come down to governance. And I would investigate the three options. I support your, having a public works person, with that expertise. We do have some people in town. I don't know if they live in Riverside or not. I think a big part is the select board saying out loud, to the town, we are doing this. We are doing it in Riverside. We are looking for, people who are gonna do it. And get some people whoever's gonna manage it later, have them manage it sooner.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my only comment on that particular line, but it sounds like
I
we're all,
appreciate the,
sounds like we're all in agreement on
I'm not.
and that being our priority. Next one is, create infrastructure reserve fund.
That's something I'm supportive of, the idea of
Yeah.
creating a reserve fund for stuff, and I feel like we're on the cusp of the town going to the next level of size and growth and that kind of stuff, and I think that trying to avoid we gotta put in a sidewalk, huge expense, and I know we already have that, but sort of to have just like, we set aside X $1,000 annually, and that just builds up and then goes down and then goes up and.
Yeah, that used to be, the highway department was run that way for the.
So I think that makes
equipment,
sense
and
to
then
have the
we had
infrastructure
the-
reserve fund.
We had, the bridges, culverts and roads at one point too. There's been a period of the last few years where we've
Do
been.
those not exist right now?
They still exist. We just haven't put money into
They
them
haven't
the
been getting funded.
last couple of years because we've been trying to squeeze the budget so much.
So I think that just makes fiscal sense as someone who.
Are we saying that we're looking at adding a line in this budget season that's basically started already, that where we would add a line and figure out what amount we're throwing in there, whether it's $20 or 20,000 or.
Yeah, I
30,000
think-
or
That's
something?
my feeling.
My feeling, because we have, you had the kickoff and people had ideas and this is, part of that, the ideas that we're talking about. And so we should, just put everything that was talked about in the budget and look at what the numbers look
Look at what
like.
it comes out at, yeah.
And then we have, say, okay, do we think the public is going to afford this? And then we have to go back through and decide, well, maybe we can't do 100,000, maybe we can do 10,000,
Sure. Yep.
just to get started.
Yep.
Okay, or, say, well, we don't need to do the put some money to MMCT's radio station yet, because they're not ready, things like that. But you want to be able to recognize all the stuff that people talked about, because that's the whole point of our new kickoff.
All right, so I'm good with that one too.
And SJ is just listening, so she's not any,
She's loving everything we're saying, I can tell. The next one is permit multifamily housing everywhere single-family housing is permitted.
So I have, and I'm a little bit hung up, and actually, maybe you can help. I took the recommendations from the slides when you were here, and I had 9 recommendations that were on those slides. I think they're the big arrows pointing to the right that Chuck has there, yeah. So I have those 9 recommendations laid out, and I kind of went through those. And permit multifamily housing everywhere single-family housing is permitted, that feels like that's those slides. Can you have one of those, Chuck, even though I said I didn't want it?
could I suggest that you guys go, I have more copies of that and you just, those.
Sure. I just want to understand how this, I don't know where the camera is, how this list lines up with the priority recommendations.
I think this is the list for zoning. For housing.
So I think that the committee wanted to give you guys a title page with a summary in case folks didn't have time to read the whole document. And so the title page has a quick summary of what to expect inside and kind of high level recommendations, which is that first page. The actual
Which is-
recommendations are, as you're saying, as you're pointing out, Peter, at the end of the report where it says recommendations, and they're all there. They're just fleshed out more. That priority high level thing is correct. It's just high level.
So everything, is there's, on the cover page, we call it that, there's the wastewater infrastructure reserve fund, and then there's 4 bullets, which are more general forms of these 9 bullets. So my thought would be that we talked about those first 2, and now I would think we should talk through these 9 and ask, and the question I think is, what are we passing on to, what are we saying to the planning commission about these 9
So it's the
recommendations?
9, the permit minimum 4 units,
Yep.
remove restrictive distinctions.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
Just
that makes
eliminate
sense,
the-
Peter.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I was going too high level on the list, I was looking at.
So I was, yeah,
Right,
I was,
right, yeah,
because I
yeah.
figured the high level was what we were gonna talk about, so. But since, people want to do it, so who
So
was reading?
I was reading it from a different list, but so it sounds like we're at 1, which is permit a minimum of 4 units of attached multifamily housing in all residential zones.
I'm okay with that.
It's gonna be interesting, we may be okay with that, it's dependent on what comes out of the Act 181 and the official maps.
That's what you have on
Yeah,
there
yeah.
too.
This is.
Yeah, because the CCRPC is the one who's gonna delegate the future land use map.
Because they also are working with trying to protect, they have to follow this, because the state has to preserve so much open space and things like that too. So,
So currently
but
we have duplexes approved everywhere.
but you could have,
That's a true statement.
yes,
Anywhere I can build a house, I can build a duplex.
Yes.
That's state law.
yes.
What's that?
That's state law.
Okay, gotcha.
We passed it first,
Yes, we did, we actually did. But
not by much.
One
Chuck,
reason
but
why
we
you might want to keep a housing committee.
But that's true, why affordable housing might need to be stay affordable housing, yes. But,
This refers to
there's no
anywhere
reason why you
housing is
couldn't have
already
it,
permitted.
conditional, depending on where the situation is. If you're in the middle of a forest block, maybe not, but maybe in an open space that has already some development, that, a fourplex could make sense.
But a
This
friend
is
of mine,
where housing is already.
Chuck Lacy would say, if I can build a 60,000 square foot house in the
Well,
middle
they
of a
can't, though.
forest.
But they could build a 40,000 square foot single home.
Right.
Why would
If
we
I can
say
drop
that
that in the middle of the
40,000
woods, why
could be
can I put a
four
fourplex?
tens?
Yeah,
Right.
Or
yeah, if they can, but I don't think they can, but, anymore in open space as well, it's very limited.
Then they can't.
Well, this specifically says residential zones. I don't know if I don't know enough about zoning to tell you if open space counts as.
Basically, this is saying anywhere you can build a house, you ought to be able to build a fourplex. So if you can't build a house because it's a wetland, then you can't build a single family home
Right,
or a
right.
fourplex.
So what do you guys, I'm with Peter. I generally agree with this. I will admit that I'm not versed enough in where things like this have been tried to understand the implications.
Right,
The way Chuck puts it makes perfect sense to me. If you can build a giant mansion, why can't you split it up into 4 individual front doors instead of 1 big front door? So that part makes sense to me, but I don't know further implications, but I can say that I generally support it.
yeah, I don't know either, because they're also redoing the natural resource overlay, so that also impacts.
But to his point, I would
Yeah.
also hope that if the natural
Impact.
overlay.
My huge house is doing the same thing.
Right,
Exactly, that's
exactly.
what I think, that's what I said, I mean, if you can't build that giant home either.
So understanding that there are probably a ton of other things outside of zoning that might prevent somebody from doing 4 than 1.
Right,
We're not being asked to worry about what they would have to do
yeah,
for septic or for individual, do you need individual water things? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you have 1 well, I don't know any of that
All
stuff.
that
But
stuff, right.
none of that stuff's up to us.
No, it
It's
isn't.
up to us is
do you want
Is
this to
the-
happen?
Is it allowed? Then,
Yeah,
okay,
and
you'll
it
be able
should
to
be
state
looked
for
at.
your wastewater and your, all that stuff.
It should be looked at, no question.
And I think that,
Okay. Remove restrictive distinctions between multifamily. I think that's kind of the same thing. That's what kind of.
Yeah,
what
it
you
really
said,
is.
right?
Yeah, I would agree, it's the same thing. I mean, there shouldn't be distinctions. I mean,
Okay, this one
well, why are those two?
Except that a multifamily house is a CUD in many places. And a single-family home is not.
I'm sorry, what's the CUD?
Conditional use
use.
determination.
So you go in front of the DRB, they tell you where to put your bushes and your windows and sort of all that stuff. It's an extra hurdle
I see,
for
okay,
multifamily housing that doesn't exist for a single-family home.
gotcha.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
And,
I mean, I like that.
right, and this, 5.6 makes a distinction between multifamily homes and single-family homes.
This part I get a little confused on. Reduce or eliminate minimum lot sizes, especially in village center and village district. And I know I asked this last time when it was presented, and I don't remember looking into it. What does that mean? Minimum lot size?
Right now,
You gotta have a quarter acre zoning, you have to have a quarter acre to build a house.
In the village centers and in villages is an acre.
Well, this has a special, I mean, we have different zoning regulations, you need 3 acres per unit here, you need a quarter acre per unit here, depending on what part of the town you're in.
Yeah.
And this is saying, reduce or eliminate lot size requirements.
And that's what Act 181 is also working on, to increase density even more in the village, in your designated village centers. The state
Does that all mean,
designated
it literally means where we have quarter acre zoning now, we say there's no minimum?
They're going to,
Well, I mean, this isn't,
This kind of suggests everywhere.
look, this is also a very general statement, like reduce or eliminate
Yeah.
municipal lot sizes, especially, this is more of a notion of planning commission, please look at where is lot size getting in the way of what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
that's
And
a good way.
make those decisions. We don't know how you're gonna do it, but we're saying we would like you to look at and think about lot size.
Okay.
Right, because
But this isn't like a single sentence saying, this is the
Saying
new
no more
rule,
lot
this is the new
sizes.
rule.
Right.
right, because you have, like with the one act, it's, you have the village center, and that they're actually doing a buffer beyond that to actually increase the density within that other.
So what exists is, there's a minimum distance between your house and the lot line. Okay, that still exists. And so the obstacle to infill in many places is we have a lot of houses right now on half-acre lots in 1 acre zone. And you're counting on infill in those neighborhoods. It's not gonna happen. And it's not gonna happen on quarter acres where you have a house on a half acre. Quarter acre zoning isn't gonna do it either, because the house is right in the middle.
That's what it,
So you
yeah,
have to be able
exactly.
to section off.
Right,
like
okay,
it's
get away from
out.
the,
And if you want more and these lot sizes and the frontage were basically decided upon in the 1960s because we wanted development houses equally spaced apart on identical sized lots. And that was the aesthetic that we wanted, and it's the aesthetic that our zoning still desires.
It's
And
also the aesthetic that the fire department is always a push, because they buy against it, putting houses closer together, even when we were
Sure, yeah.
building Tyler Place.
good point.
so,
I can speak to that issue, that if I put fireproof on the side of a building and I have a fire,
Can you
Water
state your name
source.
for the,
that the fire
can you
department.
state your name?
Excuse me. Yes,
Okay, so it sounds like, so where do we,
That was-
where are we on this?
for the record, that was Jim Carroll.
Yes.
Okay, all right. We need to get back to
it feels a
ourselves
little,
talking.
it feels a little weird to just cut Jim off.
I know.
and Chuck's
Yeah,
on the
no,
whole
I
thing.
just wanted to
I know,
make
it's
it, that's all I
I
wanted.
think I think it needs to be us talking. I think that
That's
Chuck
right.
is talking, some of the stuff he's saying is stuff we're asking him about, but this needs to be our
Good
conversation, right,
Agreed.
right.
Yeah.
But you're
So my-
right,
so
Jim
my-
is correct that if you have the fireproof, now the question is, how is that gonna affect affordability? These are all things that we can't answer.
So.
But I can't answer.
But we don't need to, Jim. That's not our conversation. This is a planning commission conversation.
Exactly, and it's not on us, hopefully,
Right.
the select board to figure out fire safety. 'cause
No,
You do not want me figuring
right.
that out. But I think it's up to us to decide as a board, how do we feel about number 3? And if we don't agree, we should say it. We generally agree,
And
but.
I feel like I agree. I had both 3 and 4 when I was reading over this and taking notes was I want to say to the planning commission, yes, these both make sense to me as a high school teacher. I don't know anything. My only concern is why were these put in place in the first place, which Chuck has addressed a little bit? And are there any unintended consequences that I don't know about?
Right.
But if both these things did happen, I would want the planning commission to say, actually, this is a good
Yeah,
idea,
you're-
but be aware, if you do this, you're gonna now have a condo complex that is 80 feet tall. I'm making all that up, but
Sure, yeah.
I just wanna be careful. I like
Exactly.
3 and 4. I don't feel like I'm educated enough about why they exist in the first place and what those changes would result in. And that's a
Yeah,
planning commission
We can
question.
just simply say,
So
we'll let
just
the
for
planning
the
commission
record,
discuss,
4
you know,
4 was greatly reduce or eliminate frontage requirements, especially in village center and village districts.
and
Both of which, 3 and 4, both of which are things Chuck was talking about aesthetic and space and
Yeah.
open space
Yeah.
and boundaries
and
and
we can
25
say,
feet
you
back
know,
from
if
your
you
property
can do
boundary.
this without unintended consequences. Or just have the discussion with all the important, you know, people that are involved in the discussions. I think you're right. You know, you don't wanna,
So are we 4 for 4? All
yeah, I
3
think,
of us agree on all 4 of
I think
these?
they all should be discussed, absolutely. By the planning commission, and they make sense, they sort of, you know, make sense.
So 5, permit multiple houses on the lot with the requisite acreage. This one I do understand and I do like, and I've heard from 2 people in this room in ways that I can understand, that, right? This is the one where, look, I have, let's say I'm in 3-acre zoning. I have 9 acres. I should be able to put 3 houses right here. And I have the 9 acres, don't make me subdivide the 3, right? Is that right? Is that what 5 is saying?
Yeah, that's what they're saying, but then the question becomes, ownership. Can you sell the individual house but not the land, you know, kind of thing, because the land is with the original property? I mean, that's the other question.
That was what you're talking about, Catherine, was my question. Again, I'm not educated in this, but in my mind, a lot is a house. So if I build 2 houses in one lot and then Catherine buys one and you buy one, who owns what? And what are who has to mow the grass to what point? And
But is that for us to figure out? I mean, I like the idea of, personally, I would love to see, let's say I have 100 acres and I'm in 10-acre zoning. I would love to see 10 houses close together and 95 acres
That's
open.
beauty.
I would love that, right?
That's
So,
beauty, yeah.
so, sure, I understand that maybe that might be harder to license but, you know, we have realtors, lawyers that can do all
Yeah,
that
and that's
stuff.
what the planning commission can determine. I
Did
mean, yeah, it's up to them.
Okay, so the planning, it sounds like, are you okay with this one?
I'm just a little unclear about, what you described. I thought was a PUD.
It is.
So how is this different than a PUD? I have 100 acres, I put 10 houses right here and leave 95 acres wide open.
And who owns it?
And
So the alternative is, so what we do now is we say, okay, you have 100 acres, you want to put 10 houses, you gotta go subdivide 10 times. You gotta do 10 subdivisions.
No, you do
and-
one subdivision for PUD for
But-
two lots.
But you gotta make 10
chunk,
lots.
10 chunks.
10
This is the big
You gotta
piece,
get
so that requires
survey and all this
subdivision.
stuff.
Yeah. It depends on how they do it. We're not gonna take any questions about
No,
that.
he has the answer.
I know,
Okay.
no, because as you said, we're not
Okay,
answering it.
Yep.
It goes to the planning commission. We said.
But I need to feel comfortable saying, yes, I support this.
Yeah, and
But
are you there?
I think I do, yeah.
I think it's just a matter, you know, they're gonna be spending time, the first number that we've talked about are much more important than maybe, you know, the one we just talked about. So I mean, in terms of.
Are there some that are more
prioritization.
important than, because
You know, like.
I'm actually kind of surprised that we got agreement on the first 5. I thought we were
But,
gonna
you know,
run into
because I think,
trouble at 2.
I think for the first 5, the multiple houses without requiring subdivision, it's probably not as,
Do we have a sense of what the planning commission, you guys are probably closer with them than I am. about where they are with that specific one, number
No,
five?
I don't,
No idea.
It's in the town plan, you approved it.
What exactly is the town, what do we say it's in the town plan, what are you talking about?
Just this, means to allow multiple homes on a lot.
Okay.
Number five.
Was it Rick? With
Bullet five.
with
all right,
the
that's,
the requisite acreage.
all right. And no, we need to just discuss this rather than, keep going back and forth, back and forth. All right. I think 6 makes sense.
6 is permit and incentivize clusters of small dwellings in PUDs by requiring no additional land for additional dwellings deeded to be less than 1,200 square feet.
That's a density bonus, basically.
My concern around this is, a 1,200 square foot house. I could probably build a $500,000 1,200 square foot house.
You can.
So I'm just wondering if that's the measure that we want, if that's the parameter that we want, that is defining affordable, an additional affordable structure.
What you could say is deeded not less than 1,200 square feet and not to exceed, the affordability standards, whatever one you want to.
Something like that, which would then be key to the prime index, whatever thing that goes up annually, and I would feel better with something like that. I don't have a problem with 1,200 square feet, I like that idea, but I just feel like keying it to a number is, I think our target, our goal is not small houses, our target is affordable houses, so I feel like we should key it to numbers, at least additionally to 1,200, and at least additional to the square foot.
Right,
I mean, I
absolutely.
get that that's what we're trying to do.
But you
I
can,
think all of
you
these-
could actually do $1 million 1,200 square foot home.
Sure, absolutely. You make it out of gold if you want. But I think the point of all these things is no one of these things is gonna make us get affordable housing. It's the combination of all of them. So I guess if someone wants to do
But
a
they shouldn't get a
1,200 square
density
foot,
bonus for
a
it.
square foot house, and then another one, and then another one, and another one, and you do all that in the quarter acre zoning, there's only so much that is gonna go up compared to like the neighboring mansion, right? I think doing that drives, like, we're not getting any 1,200 square feet houses now, so I'm not too worried about somebody building a really fancy one or somebody buys one, loves it, and throughout time enhances it and gets granite countertops and.
Oh, yeah, I
Gold
know,
roofs
that's
or
fine,
whatever,
but
you
I
know?
think, I like the idea of having the duality there, that way.
But how would you do it?
Oh, she has,
I'm making this up in the spot, 80% of the median household
well, and that,
cost
But when? Like at the time of being built?
at the
Yes.
time, each year is indexed by whatever
Yeah.
percent based on the inflation rate of
But what
the.
do you mean each year? So like when it's, so like, you mean I'm
Well,
I'm
actually,
building it right now.
you could do
I'm
it,
I'm gonna get a density bonus for having 2.
you could do
If
it with
those
the NOAA
two-
features that she has here, that you check mark and get so many NOAA features, and then it,
Okay. But so each 2 have to, while I'm building it or while I'm getting it permitted, there has to be some kind of agreement that those get sold for less than X.
Right, I mean, that's
Or-
what I'm thinking.
But what if
Either
they're
that or they
already
have
built,
so
and
many
then the
NOAA
market decides, like, it's,
or, because you can also do as you said, because that's also determines affordability, those NOAH.
I would personally, I would pitch to ask Paula to communicate with Chris Shaheen and the planning commission that we like the idea, we like the intent of number 6. And that Peter had a question about keying it to 1,200 square feet or keying it to some dollar amount
Or both.
or both to achieve the target, achieve the intent of item 6.
yeah, I don't disagree. I don't want to make it so complicated that you gotta read a 45-page manual to figure out what you can do. Like, I already can't, I personally can't follow our zoning. Like, I get it that I'm a little lower than the average people, and there are people that can follow zoning, but I'm not sure how important that piece is when we're getting no 1,200 square foot houses now. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
So, anyway, but it's worth looking into and seeing what easy things we could include that would.
And Chris Shaheen or the planning commission might say that's stupid, 1,200 square feet is gonna do what you want it to do.
Right, okay,
Right.
fair enough, okay.
And that's what they're volunteering to do. Number 7, we already talked about.
Update density calculations to allow,
That was already on the priority recommendations. That was the last one on them.
and so we're in agreement with that.
Yes.
That's 5.6.
That I'm getting good at, that one. Update fee structure to incentivize rather than burden diverse housing types and buildings small, for example, eliminate permit and road impact fees.
We need to adjust our permit and road impact fees anyway.
I will also admit, I don't know anything about our current fee structures, but I support this statement in general. I
Right,
don't
that's
know,
my feeling
I
as
don't
well.
think I
And that
understand.
actually is a select board issue, because it is a road impact thing.
Sorry, fee structure means road impact fee? Or is it like, I was thinking it was like the permitting fee and. I don't
No,
know.
maybe both.
well, I
It's
was
both.
thinking there's
It's
just a
both.
road impact is
It's
the,
all the fees related to the building.
Yeah. Which are what? Road impact, permit.
go to the, whether you're subdividing and things like that. Whatever, but it hasn't been. up-
So
They haven't
like,
been
so
updated.
it might be something like waive fees if you're doing houses under 1,200. Oh, and if you're doing houses over 4,000, then you're, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's
The
the,
current,
and then Paula would work with the planning, Chris.
And they bring something to us saying, hey, here's our new recommended structure.
Right.
We would look at it and say yes or no.
We'll permit, we vote on it.
Oh, yeah, and then I remember this one.
And then,
Remove the eligibility requirement for constructed prior to 1955. Now, I kind of lose, my page loses it after that.
For adaptive use of existing structures.
and that was,
Oh, yeah.
The current eligibility is that if your house is constructed prior to 1955, then you're allowed to change it under adaptive use for existing structures.
well,
Not
actually, it was
built
designed for
1960.
barns.
Yeah, I thought when SJ presented, it was a barn thing,
It's a
but
barn thing.
yeah.
Exclusively one thing, I think,
no,
it's just
But it was-
something, it may be the intent, but the
Yeah,
language, I
okay.
think, is just,
But
to do adaptive use, you have to have built before 1955.
That one just seems like a no-brainer. Now, is that a zoning requirement or how is that enforced
that
now?
was a special deal for people to redo barns for a long
But how's it
time.
enforced?
Right, but
What happens?
Yeah.
How does it?
is it just part of the zoning application? Like, hey, I want to go do this? Nope, you can't because it's in our
built
zoning.
Past
that says it?
1960.
Okay.
no, it's new.
That's all right, Chuck, this is this is just the high level thing, we're not making
And
decisions.
I think we're clean on all 9.
All right, so
But,
the Affordable Housing Committee, is that it?
yeah, that's it.
And then
So,
the first two, about the wastewater and the infrastructure reserve fund, that's all the recommendations.
Yeah, we've gone from the high level to the low level.
okay, so now that we've officially read them and we've officially agreed on them, I would like to again thank the committee for these recommendations. I think they're
Yes.
good. And I think if we could get all of them in a way that makes sense and is legal, I think it would start to move the needle.
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta see what happens, I mean, but you make progress.
Do it I would add in a timely fashion. Again. Yeah, to whatever extent we're able to.
Yeah, whatever we're able to do, yeah.
Wait.
Okay, next.
Oh, we have this done by.
Thank you.
This calendar year.
Done by Tuesday will be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing this, Chuck. This was helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Could I just make one comment on the whole thing?
All right.
What you are, these are minutes from one of the very first town planning board meetings. It was 1965, chaired by Hub Vogelman. The discussion began with consideration of the trailer situation, problems of low-cost housing, camps, and minimum size of lots. Hotchkiss, Ed Hotchkiss, that was Gene Archibald's husband, stressed the need for revision of zoning ordinances covering trailers, subdivision control, and tax exemptions. That was when we began the idea of focusing on zoning regulations that were biased towards the wealthy and big homes and big lots. And it's continued to this day. These recommendations fundamentally been a change in policy. on the part of Jericho, and I congratulate you on that.
Jericho really didn't have much zoning before the mid-sixties, anyway.
1961 was the first zoning, and we banned mobile homes.
I got it. I feel like it's muted you.
Just unmuted.
Sabina does have a hand up.
Okay. Repeat,
I think it's Bill Butler.
yeah, it is, but
No, Bill has a question. We have to hang on a second, Bill, because Sabina has the floor. I believe that's here.
Well, why don't I give Sabina the floor?
all right, you had a question.
Just about the infrastructure reserve fund, did you include sidewalks in?
We have a
the
sidewalk
support
fund, yes.
As part of that, or is it?
It's separate.
Separate.
Its own
It would,
fund.
it would need to be separate.
All right, now, Bill, you had your hand, his hand up?
He's been trying to, yeah.
Yes, he's been trying to, okay.
Thank you. So I know you're talking about reducing lot sizes. What about an increase in lot sizes? We are Wisdom House is interested in building a building that's 100 feet long. It's the senior center with 30 to 40 units of housing and commercial on the first floor. How would that work into this scheme?
That's up to the planning commission at the moment. Right now, we're talking about the Affordable Housing Committee's recommendation.
So you're not opposed to this? You're gonna give it to the planning commission?
At the moment,
Well, it's not, I mean, it's not, no, this conversation is about affordable housing and not, you're asking a different, I believe you're asking a different question, which I'm not saying I'm for or against or whatever, but that's not what we're talking about right now. And I think that right now that is between up to the zoning administrator or the zoning committee, or the planning commission.
But to your point, I don't think there's a restriction on a big lot size.
No.
Like you can have a 1,000-acre lot if you want,
yeah,
right?
We feel that we are providing affordable housing in this building. That's our goal. But we need to build a larger building in order to accomplish this.
okay, understood. But right now, focus was this, and as they're discussing it, the zoning regulations in the planning commission, then that's a good time to bring it up. But there's no reason why you couldn't have, a chunk of the lot, multiple lots together to do the same thing.
Put the lots together, not make a single lot?
Because once they're owned by a contiguous owner, there's an automatic, assuming that it's a lot. When it comes to Lister.
Okay.
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about the sawmill as it's designated? Is it, how does it fit into your zoning? I want you to consider this.
That's a total,
Yeah.
so we get
It
into
is.
it. Have to move on to the budget.
We
But
gotta let Jim go. We let everyone else go.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim. Be quick.
Yeah.
Please.
In 2022, the Affordable Housing Committee, acting for the town and the planning commission, delivered to the select board new regulations intended to address some of these things. Totally consistent with this. There was a Scrivener's error that I can prove as an expert with.
No, I'm not here about it.
No,
Okay, I'm not
no,
talking about
that's
that.
totally different.
Yeah.
We've been through that already, including the.
We need to move on to the next agenda item.
I thought this was a democracy.
No, Jim, you were the one.
Conservation Commission tree,
Yes.
Are you hear about the Conservation Commission? That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I just like
Just like,
just driving in the rain. coming out.
I know, it's cold rain.
Third night in a row.
Great.
Hello. So, there's a grant opportunity that, is being put forth from the Vermont, Urban and Community Forestry Program. There's no match. It's for planting trees in municipalities on all kinds of different levels, in public spaces, in private land that has public access, so there's a lot of flexibility in where you can plant the trees. Trees for food, so fruit and nut trees are included in the list of suggested, ideas. So the Conservation Commission would like to, pursue an application for some grant money to get trees in various parts of Jericho. So the exact locations and how many and all that, I haven't worked that out yet. I'm just here tonight to get basically a yes, we would like you to investigate and go forth and, work on an application. It's due in January. I have spent some time doing, a little initial legwork with one of the grant advisors that's available. So I'm, trying to make sure that, he thinks we, have some good locations that
So Don told me does.
no, this is not Don.
Oh, this is not Don, this is,
I have spoken with Don.
okay, so this is Tom.
Somebody else. No, this
Oh,
is.
Somebody told me, no, I missed that one.
I'm sorry, so I have spoken with Dawn, and I've spoken with, all of the town's relevant entities regarding trees. This is somebody named Adam McCullough, who is, an employee of the state, he's the urban forester for, the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program. So it's one of those situations where, he does not work on the grant committee, so he can serve as an advisor to applicants.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of the natural resource grants have this opportunity where you can kind of ask questions and say, hey, here's an idea I have, and they're like, great, or no, that wouldn't work, so that you don't waste your time doing X when X won't.
Right.
That makes sense.
So anyway, so I've done some legwork. It sounds like we have some potential to get some money. And so basically I'm just asking for permission to move ahead.
And there's no match?
No match.
So imagine, do you need help from town staff writing the grant? Are you gonna write it or?
I'm planning to do most of the work. Chris Shaheen has volunteered to, help with one aspect of it, like the main purpose, but I think I am volunteering to take the role of doing 95 to 97% of it, and then get some assistance where I feel I need it. And that's also like talking with Dawn some more, and Tom, and the various committees, and this, one of the places where we would be eligible to plant trees is at the school. And so, I don't know how that works actually in terms of reaching out to the school board or the board of, whoever the superintendent, who decides like, yes, Jericho can plant trees on our land, right?
They
So-
have a structures committee.
Okay, that's what I wrote to Edie today to ask her, like, who do I talk to?
Right.
Assuming that you guys would say yes. But if you can tell me, Paula,
Yeah,
if we have any precedent with that.
Yeah.
Because Don recognized that the high school has taken down a lot of trees in the last couple of years, and he thought maybe they might want some replacement trees. I mean, we're not gonna just say, hey, high school, here's 10
Right, here's-
trees.
yeah.
Plant them now, right?
yeah.
We want, there has to be buy-in, right? So we would then go to them and say, hey, we have an opportunity for trees.
Like some-
Would you like some?
Right.
Where, that kind of thing. Same thing with, the mobs committee has, their fruit and nut orchard.
That's right,
Um,
that's a good one.
And so we've already reached out to Pete about getting additional trees, and he gave Tom a list of types of trees that he would be interested in. So again, we're working, the details need to be sorted out, but that's kind of some of the stuff that we're thinking about.
Is this part of the nursery piece that,
No,
okay,
different.
That's different.
That's the other grant.
okay.
Yeah,
That's the canopy.
that's the caring for canopy
Yes,
grant.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Has nothing to do with can of peas. It's-
I know.
Um, I'll make a motion to,
one second.
oh, you want some more questions? Go ahead.
So applying for this grant and getting this grant doesn't obligate you or the town or anybody to put any trees in any particular places.
No, it does. I mean,
Doesn't
I'm not,
obligate you to
I'm
put
not
any-
sure.
put Any trees. You got this grant, you must now put a tree, you must have at least one tree that is located on Route 15. You must have at least one tree that is located on Main
No,
River. We can do whatever we
no.
want with it,
Well,
put things wherever we want,
That makes sense.
Good question.
within
I
reason.
hear you, yeah, so, no, like, what my job now is to work on the locations. I have to submit a planting plan.
Oh, okay.
So I have to make a diagram and say, oak tree here,
Gotcha.
maple tree here, and,
That's all
and
decided before
spell
the
it
grant
out
is-
as part of the grant
The grant is like,
application.
yes, you may put these trees, here's money, put trees in those places.
Yes, and the grant funding can also be used for hiring a planting crew or things like that. So that is actually very good because we don't have people to do that.
So we need to talk to all, everywhere that you may want to put a tree
Correct.
that is not on,
Yeah,
would have to be discussed first then, before you. put it in
That's
your
my
plan.
job now. So I
High
didn't,
school.
I didn't want to do all that in advance and then have you say, me. So that's how I will be spending December.
yeah, my concern just with this is like, you know, I think I've mentioned it before, like with the Riverside sidewalk going in over on Riverside and putting like trees there, like that, I guess I'm saying, I think it would be good if you worked with.
Well, if we do anything there,
Mm-hmm.
it would be in conjunction with V-Trans. And you have to get a special permit from them if you want to do
Yep.
anything on a state road.
Right,
So there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through in order to do that. So there wouldn't be conflict in the end because
Okay.
everyone would be on the same page
okay,
before anything was even like allowed.
okay.
So
That's just
they are
because
very.
what does that do to the
they are
grant
ve- well,
that we
grant-
have
Right.
for the sidewalk?
Right, I think the grant does not cover trees being put in.
Right,
But, we can get as long as we pay for the trees, we might be able to incorporate them into the plan.
It might be
Right.
easier to work with the landowner. put it
Well,
on
we
their
talked
property.
about that too, Adam and I talked about whether or not we should do a big, like an outreach to people in that area and say, hey, would you like a free tree? And as long as you put it, on this side of the
the
line,
sidewalk,
right?
yeah.
So we have a lot of options. I feel like I have a lot of support in this and in terms of making sound decisions that won't result in conflict
Yeah, yeah.
or
Mhm.
problems.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, we're all just doing our best but
Mhm.
it's not totally like a free for all.
Yeah, because if you have it on private land, then they could take care of it too.
Mm.
Right. I mean, we would have to,
Right.
That's
Chop-
kind of
chop
a
it down,
double-edged
like chop it
sword.
down or
right,
cut off.
but even V-Trans reserves the right at any time to remove a tree.
Sure.
So it's not a done deal.
Yeah.
But I know that Tom made the time to come. I don't know if he has anything he wants to add, or if you have any other questions.
Is Tom anything to say?
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one or two things. I think the window for this allows anywhere from $5,000 to $75,000 in the proposal, and I guess we're going to work with Adam to come to some sort of middle ground about how big of an ask. The whole pot has $315,000 up for grabs, and if they're spreading that across the whole state, I would imagine 75,000 would be a big ask on our part, but there's nothing wrong with shooting for the moon.
Yeah, and one thing I don't know, which I actually thought about today is, let's say I pick 5 locations. I don't know how the grant works is if it's all or nothing. If they say, yes, we'll fund these 3, but not these 2, so I will find that out, but.
Now I'll make a motion to approve the Conservation Commission tree grant. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, and I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
so that
definitely. Yep,
There's an open door.
perfect.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Savina. Now we get to move on to the discussion of the draft FY 26 budget on the treasurer, town clerk, and lister.
Yes.
So
So
we'll do the easy two first.
yeah, so the treasurers, I have them pulled up here. They're pretty much basically the same. Their salaries, it's in there. That's based on a 3.8% increase of the cost of living. And nothing else has changed on there. And I'll go to listers because Jessica's here and I'm not sure if she wants to speak, but so listing is the same thing. The lister's salary is there, and then pretty much nothing has changed. I spoke to Lori about the professional consultants and she said lower it to 1,000. So that's all there is for that. Any questions?
Yeah, because this is going to be the FY 26 ending in June of 2026. So when do we start having the big money for the reappraisal?
So that she said will have to be in this budget, and that's one of the things that I was talking about earlier that maybe you weren't here, but we'll need to kind of update this with Brian as well to incorporate the reappraisal.
Sorry, you probably said it and I was looking at something else. Why did it go up 10,000 from last budget to this budget?
What?
Salaries, the salaries.
The salaries is based on that 3.8% cost of living increase. And that we have Martha in there and Terry. So there's Lori, Terry, and Martha.
That weren't there in 25.
Martha wasn't here too much in 25. She was.
That's this year. She's been here before that, right?
But I think when we did it last year, when we planned, we didn't plan Martha to be here. It was like an as needed.
Okay.
So I don't think we put a lot of money in for Martha
Okay.
for this fiscal year.
But it turned
It
out
just
now
seemed
that
like it's been like 3 years since we brought her on, but maybe it's only been 1.
Yeah, no, but I
but
can
now
pull
there's
up-
more stuff being done for. with the
she's working more hours. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I apologize. This is
Yeah.
just, I don't have the institutional history knowledge. So FY 24 budget and actual or actual was 38.
Mhm.
This year was budgeted at 39.
Mhm.
And then why are we budgeting 10,000 more? I hear you saying
Yeah,
something
that's
about Martha.
And you know what, if I can, hold on just one moment. This might be a formula error. Oh shoot, I can't get to it. I will have to check on that, because it could be a formula error, because I do see now what you're talking about, Eric. And it shouldn't be that much.
Unless, like you said, if she's planning on working more starting in
Yep.
July, right? Because this is what we're talking
But
about.
I will-
starting-
That is
Tell myself this every time. We're talking about what the budget starting in July
Right.
1st. So if there's a plan for her to work more, then that's fine.
It shouldn't be that much of a
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah,
But
that's
she
a
is
good-
working more, but that shouldn't be, so there might be a formula error.
Or maybe the actual would come out.
Right,
49 or
right,
something.
right,
Okay.
right. Okay, so now I'll go to the town clerks, and Jessica, I don't know if you want to say anything or have anything to add for this.
Yeah, I can review it if you want.
It's what you gave me.
So, on the bottom, license payments to state is going up because the dog payment to state is going up from $5 to $7 to the state.
Oh, and we cover that.
So that's 1,000 dogs. And then marriages, I kept the same. We take in $80 application fee and 65 of that goes to the state. So it's sort of calculated for 30 marriages and 1,000 dogs.
And we pay all the dogs. Just dog.
No,
we charge.
there's about 200 dogs that are not licensed after April 1st, so those,
And they pay.
those
We pay
people.
for their own time before April 1st.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so the dog fee will go up $2 also, like it used to be
Yeah.
$9. And now,
It would go up to offset
it will
that
go up to
$2.
11, so,
Okay.
yeah. Miscellaneous, we don't need anything, travel meeting subscriptions. So I think I actually had 2,500 in there, so that got lowered by 500.
Oh,
So I
can put 25 on here.
we haven't spent as, Megan actually hasn't gone to as much continuing ed, but, I would support her going. The reserve fund. So that isn't on this one. That 1052-508.002.
Brian might have it somewhere.
That is a calculation that I need Brian's help to figure out, but it was sort of showing a trend of, it used to be that we would take more money in with recording fees. Of the $15 per page recording, 11 goes into the general fund and $4 goes into this preservation restoration fund. So it used to be that we would take more money in than we would actually spend on restoration, but the last 2 years, we've actually not had as much recording and the expenses, continue. So that's actually okay because we have a very large amount in that reserve fund, which I don't have in front of me, but I think it's like $80,000. The book restoration, 12,000 of that is contracted with the Avenue Analytics, which is it's a $1,000 monthly fee. We pay them for our online access, plus they provide the hardware and software in the clerk's office for the land record recording.
That's 12,000 of the 20.
That's 12,000 of the 20. Legal expense, I try to avoid. And board election fees. I'm anticipating town meeting of March of 2026. There may be a special election and 12 BCA meetings, 2 Board of Abatement meetings, and no tax appeals. But I did have a note in there for starting July 1 of 2026. So not this fiscal year, but the
Maybe
following. We're gonna have,
27, yeah.
we're gonna, unless the legislature changes that we don't have to do tax appeals on the local level, which that was proposed, but I guess it didn't go anywhere. We'll have we had 60 tax appeals after the 2016 reappraisal, so I anticipate that.
That costs us money.
So it's $10 a meeting for the members of the board. And they basically, every property has 3 meetings. It has a initial hearing, and then 3 people go out and do the site inspection. They report back to the board, and then a decision's made. So yeah, it can last 6 months. Like we were working very hard to be done by Christmas with the 60 appeals. So so not this fiscal year, but the following, I just wanted to warn you, we'll probably need an increased staff person for 6 months to help with the tax appeals. And that's also the same time as the August primary and November election, that even year of 2026. So probably a 20-hour a week during that 6 months time. So it would just be a temporary So I just wanted to tell you about it ahead of time, so that when if it gets proposed in the future. I joined the Vermont League of Cities and Towns Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Advisory Committee, which is 6 meetings a year, and they're asking if the town will support my involvement in that, which is usually a lunch meeting anyway, via Zoom, but 2 of them will be, so 6 meetings a week, or 6 meetings a year, 2 of them will probably be in person. So I think some of the people that make up the committee are not connected to a municipality, but I think the members that are municipal employees, the town supports them that time.
And where is that in this?
That's on travel.
It would be in my salary probably. I mean, it's just that I would be away from here to
Oh, I
attend the
see.
meeting.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't be us spending extra money, it would be us paying you to not be here.
Correct.
The office would be closed, you'd still be.
Well, or Megan would be there, yeah. And then it's probably a different time, an executive session. I would like to see the salary study that was done by the consultant. And then I know Vermont League of Cities and Towns does a salary study too. And in our employee handbook, it says that, we try to be.
There was no salary discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you talking about the audit that we did?
Yeah.
There was no
There wasn't
salary
salary.
discussion at all.
Oh, he said he was doing that, but
No,
okay.
no, it was, he just,
He did more like, what's your role? What does your role say you're doing? What are you actually doing? What's coming into the
Capacity.
town for work? What's going out for work? It's more of that kind of stuff.
or
It wasn't,
capacity,
it
it was a
wasn't,
capacity study.
It
And sort
wasn't-
of proposing how much staff hours or no?
Yeah,
but not.
not really.
It wasn't so much a record, it's more like it's kind of a state of the union, like.
Right.
Here's what
Things are.
here's what people are doing for work.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So not okay, I thought it was gonna be comparing other municipalities. How things are done,
No, I just talked about us being leaner
okay.
in terms of number staffing.
But I know Vermont League of Cities and Towns has a study and I can collect information locally, but I would like to sort of see, how that compares to my peers in other towns.
Okay, I mean, I think it's just public, because it's the VLCT census.
And we have a copy of that. Okay, so sort of bringing that up probably at a different meeting. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now we're going to talk about select board updates.
Yes, so I'm just
Are
gonna
they
start
here
off.
for an update?
Yes, they are.
You came here to cause trouble.
That happens
You'll be
too.
the very first one to.
Right,
Yeah.
right, tonight.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Actually, since you're here, I think we'll do them first.
Yes, for sure.
Right.
That's what I was gonna mention.
Because they had a meeting tonight, as I recall, it was the last
Not
night.
tonight, but, Monday,
Monday?
some Monday.
Oh, yeah, because I had different meetings. There's been 3 meetings this week already, so I'm a little
Yes.
confused which night I was
Come on
at.
up to the table, just state your need for the secretary. Recording secretary. Meetings. Minutes.
My name is Dave Abington. And my name is Dave Barrington. We are co-chairs of Task Force Reimagining Town Meeting. So we had a very productive meeting. It was the first meeting addressing the second of the 2 meetings we proposed to you in the report that we sent you this last spring. The meeting in which you received advice on draft budget. And in that meeting, we did a whole bunch of listing of things that would have to be done to make that meeting work. And it left us with a set of questions that we didn't know the answers to. Or we could guess what they were, but we thought we better make it, get it clear with you folks. Because we definitely, of course, you will be a main feature of that meeting. Not only that, we're very much hoping that you will have some role in the planning and development of the meeting. As you have, as you have for centuries with the meeting of the citizens in town in March. And this is a meeting of the citizens of the town. It's just a different meeting. It's a special meeting. Which leads me to my first very simple question. It is your role to decide on special meetings who moderates the meeting.
I knew that was
I
coming.
personally have somebody in mind, but.
I do. It's not me.
Well, let me say that I'm very interested in doing. But we wanted clarity.
And the committee, I would say, felt that it should be, that it would be great to have the moderator.
We thought it'd be
Be the
great too.
moderator.
I think
You know what would be great is if we had like the same guy that ran the last one for so many years. I don't know.
You can Paul can talk to him and see if he's
I
looking
can
at
try
like.
to convince him to do it.
Yeah, I think the intention, I'll joke aside, the intention is to build a structure that looks and feels and acts very much like town meeting and having Dave run that meeting.
And that, like, to me, with the same kind
Like-
of like order and sort of
Oh, yeah.
commanding
Opening
of the
statement
room.
of
and-
the opening statement about the power of democracy, direct democracy, just that whole piece
So
around what
important.
are we doing here. It's not like, oh, hey, it's kind of a different thing today, we're gonna, just sort of the way it's always done. So it has that same sort of gravitas and this is what we're doing. People are now gonna tell us what they wanna see and do and amend and all that.
I think you're in, Dave.
Because I do think it's important to get this is obvious, but now that we're doing something differently, that the meeting we had in October was it was a brainstorming meeting. It was idea generation. It wasn't coming to consensus of the room.
Right.
But the idea in January is to be able to express the feeling of the citizens who are present. So it does feel like that needs to be a moderated conversation.
100%.
Oh, absolutely. It really needs to be much like what people are used to. Because that, as you said, has the gravitas, and it also helps people follow along where we are. And
Well, that's great. I
That
mean,
was easy. Question number 2.
or else, yes, thank you, that's great. I'm happy
Thank you.
to
Thank you for
continue
doing
my
it.
role.
continue to do it.
Trying to figure out which would be the best way to approach this. Since we're actually talking about the meeting and the structure of the meeting a bit, there will, of course, well, we're assuming there will be a very substantial part of the meeting where the citizens are looking at a draft budget and you guys are talking about the budget and soliciting input. And one, for me, and I think for the rest of the committee, though we haven't hit it really hard, it's critically important that the citizens understand that you people are extraordinarily receptive to the input of them. So that in your opening remarks, if you would explicitly say how much you appreciate their being there and how much you're looking forward to the input on the budget that you drafted for their review. So that, and the reason for that is, if that chemistry isn't there, then a lot fewer people will show up. Because they'll go, oh God, well, yeah, we went, but I don't think we had any impact.
It's just us doing blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is that we need to adopt the spirit in which this special meeting was created, and that we're gonna do as close to what we used to do, right? Like before, you guys could, on the floor, you could
Take all the salt
make a
out.
thing and you could overpower whatever budget we had, and you could, right at that moment, change that line item, which changes the, right? Like that's basically
Yeah.
what you're saying is, so basically say like, you know, our intent here is to honor this as if this were the vote right now, even though it isn't.
right, exactly. And just to make a commitment, if you so choose, that you will listen and you will alter the budget, if it, meets with your wisdom about what's the right thing for the town. And I think it's not as far from the past practice as many people know, because, talking with you folks, it became clear that, well, yes, the citizens vote on motions, but in fact, some of that some of those motions are taken as advice and not followed, because it isn't, for one reason or another, in the best interest of the town.
You have an example of that?
No,
Sure, so what he means is,
If someone says cut $1 million in the budget, school, you guys figure it out.
well, that would make it to the bottom line, and then we'd be in trouble, right?
Right.
Because then we'd fail our audit in saying that
Yeah.
we budgeted 3 million and we spent 4
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the specific thing he's talking about is, at the end of the day, they're voting in the bottom line
Oh,
budget.
I gotcha, yes.
Right, so if
Yep.
they say, I want $8,000 more for whatever.
Yeah.
Book restoration,
Yeah.
whatever, and we are like, okay, you can make the change to the end of the budget, but at the end of the day, you also agreed to give the select board the power to write the checks,
Right,
so,
yeah.
right, I mean, I think
Yeah.
is that kind of what you're getting at, like,
yeah, and,
Well, also a flood can happen,
yeah,
like,
Right.
Yeah.
so suddenly the whole, but that select board is going to be reassessing, so.
I mean, it's a budget.
Right.
It's like, it's not a law, like,
Exactly,
right, it's a
exactly
budget,
so.
it's like, here's our best guess of what we think we wanna spend this year.
now the advantage,
And we end up having to shift because, as you said, there's a flood, a road to destroy.
Right, it is a line, but we do have the authority as citizens to adjust the line items
Yes,
in the budget.
absolutely.
You then administer it over the course of the year. I think that's a helpful distinction. And technically, we don't have that authority this time.
And you
as
didn't
citizens.
before either.
That,
Well,
You
hey.
did, we would change it, but at the end of the day, the vote at the end that Dave calls for
Right,
is
is on
on
the
that
bottom
line.
line.
You're not calling for a vote on line one, you don't go through
Right.
each one. You're making amendments which changes that bottom line, but it
We try, I mean,
didn't change, I mean, yes, that's
try
written,
to,
and
best as possible to follow.
but
the
again, you
rules
could get
like
audited
that.
against, right? Hey, we had this in the budget, you spent this, that's
Right.
scores, whatever it scores in their financial audit.
I think it's really important that when either we or you or whoever is talking about this, that we not sort of perseverate on exactly what power people have and exactly what power we have, because we don't do that. We don't say, hey, just so you know, everybody, like, all you're voting on here is just the bottom, I'm not saying you do this, just the bottom line. You can do whatever you want with the lines, but we're gonna do what we think is best. And that's how it's always, like, the more we be talking about that, it's like, well, wait, well, hold on, like, that's never talked about. Not that we're hiding it, but sort of the process is, our jobs, I believe, is to draft a budget, give it to the voters, have the voters say, yep, we don't like this line or this line, and want this line changed, and that's gonna affect the bottom line this way, and us to say, okay, we added $2,000 to the budget, and our intention is to meet the budget as you voters have told us to meet it. And things happen, but our intention is to do exactly what you're
That's
asking us to
exactly what it
do.
always is.
Right.
I was
do not
pointing
wanna
it out.
accept- Yes.
As a point to just say, it's not that much different.
Yeah, right,
That's all,
exactly,
Right,
exactly.
it's really,
And that's what I wanna-
the same thing,
Right.
only more people get to vote on that bottom line at the end. Right.
I do have a bit of advice beyond what we've already said, and that is the key difference here is that the budget's still in draft when we get to that meeting. It's not this, thing that's set in stone.
Right.
that's in the report.
Yeah.
It's this draft that's somehow circulating. And that means that it's a living document at the time the citizens walk into the room.
And they
That's
can
true.
change it.
Right,
And
and
then we're
that,
basically saying, we will change it, and that's what will be in the report. It'll be
yeah,
different.
and literally, one of the reasons this seems like a good idea to me is, you know, an old stodger, is that it's changed the relationship of the citizens to the budget process to the point where they're interacting earlier.
Right.
Ignoring, forgive me, the meetings they could have come to here with you three.
Right.
The other piece of it is that the people who are part of that conversation are a subset of the people who will vote on town meeting.
Yeah, no.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, that's on the list of questions is how do we then communicate with the whole town and with those voters who have not been present in any of the meetings leading up to that vote?
You mean encouraging people to show up to vote?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, encouraging people,
Communication, here's what the budget
communicating.
is, and the budget votes happen on this day, and here are the dollar amounts, and here's the list, here's the
We have,
budget and all that.
we do at least 2 informational meetings prior to the
Yeah.
Australia ballot. One was right after we have actually finalized the budget based on town meeting 2.0. If that's what's going to go into the town report, that goes to the printer, that goes to everybody in town, so they'll still get their budgets. And then that's at the beginning of February, and then within the 10-day frame before the Australia ballot, we have to have another informational meeting to say, this is within the budget, this is, you know, what it is. I mean, those are the 2 things that we need to do for sure. And then,
But part of that process, I think that would be different from previous years, is to communicate the extent to which citizens have been involved in that.
And this is the budget, and that you all helped us build.
Exactly.
Time to go over.
And the education around, hey, the budget's not done, like, we just agree what the budget's gonna look like, you still have to vote, like this. I think some people are gonna hear, oh, town meeting was moved to way earlier at some point, I missed
I
that.
see what you mean.
Why would I show up to town meeting day to vote,
Yeah.
because it's already done? So
Yeah.
we need to really be beyond just the legally required meetings, we need to be sort of like promoting this whole thing and getting the word out that step 3 has happened, step 2 has happened, the budget's been set, but we still have to decide that's the point, right? I mean, the idea is we have the entire town meeting, and then we just press pause at the end, and then wait to have that final vote until 3 weeks later or a month later.
So it raises questions.
Sure.
I think so. I think I was just about to tee up, I think, what the next question you're gonna have to make.
Well, I want to frame this around the way the discussion went in the task force was, well, let's see, there's got to be some information that goes to the citizens before the draft review.
right,
And then there's got to be something that goes to all the citizens in advance of the vote. And presumably, you know, the backbone of each is the draft budget for the first meeting and the final budget for the second meeting. And we started inventing what you were gonna do. And we backed off. But for instance, we thought there would still be a town report. And
oh, absolutely,
and that would come out for the March meeting. Is that right?
that's correct.
For the March meeting, for the town meeting day,
Yes.
Australian ballot vote.
Yes, that's exactly right. In fact, our intent is to have on the website prior to the one on the 23rd, it's preferentially a week ahead of time, a draft, that draft should be on the town website, and we publicize it so that people can see it before they come to 2.0. And then we have the informational meetings on what comes out of that, that the budget that goes to the town report. Because the first informational meeting will be the first one after we've had our 2.0. But it will not, it will have just gone to the printers. But the second one will have, the people will actually should have the town report in their hands.
These are the two information meetings.
Yeah,
So first one is before you see the report, and the second one after.
yeah. Because, but both of them, that first one and beginning of February will be what has come out of 2.0 on the 23rd.
So I'm not sure I'm speaking for the whole committee, and Katie can help me here, but I believe that the sense was that we would like to be able to write something for inclusion in the town report
That's a great idea.
that captures
the
what
committee.
we accomplished as
Yes.
citizens in that meeting. Is that about
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would say
I actually-
forward.
I
mean,
actually
that should be
passed
like
that on to-
That's
great, that's a nice
That
forward.
should be
Yeah.
the mission of the town.
I actually had that on, spoke to Linda about that because she's now in charge of the town report and told her to make sure that she reaches out to get some type of report from you guys.
I like that as the forward.
Got anyone on the committee
What
that
are
can-
you using forward to the whole report?
Yeah.
I don't know, like that, yeah, like that, I mean, it's a huge change, right? Like.
And it's a huge change for us, and a huge change for the state,
Mm-hmm.
and people are kind of watching us, not intently, but like,
Yeah.
we're aware we're doing,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
no,
gonna
that's-
work, and that
Yeah.
statement about this,
Yeah.
like, I think I would love, I think.
Well, that's what we
this is
heard
the
when we were
worst-
developing.
This is the
report.
worst it's ever gonna be, like, this version of this year, this is the worst it's ever gonna be, and sort of that idea that we're building a new thing as we're doing it.
It's gonna get better and
Really
better.
important.
This is good. Okay, I mean, to be forgetting something here.
Well, I have a question for you, because I think in your list, you talked about having, is there something that the task force would write in advance of 2.0, as well as in the town report? I think you talked about that. I think that, to me, the piece that matters is the one in the town report.
That's right, yeah.
Because that would reflect, I think, one, this is what we're doing, this is different. And we was set in motion last year in town meeting day, but also here's what we've achieved so far in the process, and reflect, not in a long statement, but some of the conversation from meeting 2.0. Is that what I
And
you
I
agree
think,
with
and I
that?
think,
Would
I
be
agree with
both.
that, and I think that a piece of that is also what Eric was saying, which is like, and by the way, the budget we're putting in front of you came from that meeting, and has,
Yeah.
Right.
the people who were able to be there,
Yeah.
this is the budget they agreed to. This is the budget they wanted to,
Yeah,
so it's
okay.
not
Well,
just
and I
us. it's-
Especially the parts you don't like,
I mean,
those are done by you guys.
it's not-
You
that
guys
was-
did it.
I also
You can
think,
see it now. Select board rebuttal.
but I also think it would be helpful if, you helped us advertise what that 23rd meeting is going to be. I mean, we can put out that, this is our town meeting reimagined, and we want people to come, with the this is your chance to have input on the final budget that goes to the town report. But not just from us, but from them as well, because you're gonna need as much publicity as possible to
From
make it.
from different bodies.
Yeah.
I think that it would be great to have Angeliki interview someone, a board member or a member of your committee, or when you guys to put something out there, like, hey, here's what, talking about where are we at, what's happening the 23rd, just to different ways to get the story out. Being better hand up for like an hour.
Well, we actually have,
You have.
Not quite, not quite. I just have a suggestion, if I can add one more way to get to people, is like some kind of a mailing.
We thought of a postcard, but.
Postcard or-
well, that's why I brought this.
Oh, that's great.
Will you pay for us to do one of these?
Yeah.
How's everybody in the town?
How much
What
are
does
they?
it cost?
I don't know.
Well, I have the same thing as you, but.
It's MMU.
Ballot.
Yeah, I thought you would recognize it. It's MMU.
Yeah, I mean,
I think exactly what
Use
we would
equipment now,
do.
you know.
Right.
It also can, it doesn't have to have a lot of information on it. It is,
People just don't like, we are so plugged in,
yes.
and I have conversations almost every day where people are like, there's no more town meeting, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yes, there is. So people are not as
think you're
aware
right.
as we think they might be, and they need as many reminders as
Mhm.
possible.
And
I think that makes sense. I think.
the thing is that having things on the website is.
Right.
It's passive. They actually have to
Right.
go somewhere.
Yes.
Right,
This, they have to go to the mailbox.
and I guess it has a
I like
QR
that,
code
yeah.
that they can put their little phone and then read the.
So
Web-
would you,
the web
would
budget
you
or
come,
something on
would
the
you guys
website?
come up with something?
Oh, we'll design it.
Oh, okay, works
Okay.
for
No,
me.
we have Maria.
Right, we have really good people.
Okay,
You really do.
and then the town taking it and having it mailed out.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because I think, I've wanna look into this, but having a bulk permit is so nice. But I think one of our printers who we bring some of our stuff to, they have a bulk permit that they can actually use, so.
What does that mean?
It's on the back of that.
Oh,
You
to be
see
able to
that
just print
there's
it
a,
and-
yeah,
Oh.
it's like you have to have a, yeah, right.
Gotcha.
And we don't have one, but we could definitely do that.
That's wonderful. 'Cause
Okay.
I think that's key.
Yeah,
Is that, I got this in my mailbox. I said, oh my God, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And we actually have 4 work groups right now within the committee. We just formed them. And one of them is an early publicity group, just getting something out ASAP because it's got to get out before Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we literally want this in the mail before Christmas. And
Thumbs up.
we've got a great committee. We've already got the first draft of what's going on here.
awesome. That's
So
great.
I'm hoping you'd be happy with it.
I would love.
I would like advice about whether to put it in before Christmas or after.
Well,
I
that's
agree, there's
also,
some
yeah.
publicity to do before Christmas, but I worry about getting lost
I would mail it.
and mail it right
I would
after.
like put it in the mail like January 5th.
Yeah, all right.
But we could get some advice about that.
And if you've already started designing that, great, but as you were talking, I just had a flash of
I've designed it already.
a
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yes.
The cardboard, like, oh wait, town meeting hasn't happened this year, right? It's all Australian ballot. Wait, no, so it's not this, like, even this, like, oh, is this a
Right,
political,
you're just looking
is this
at
a
it.
political flyer?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, something that draws you in and
Yeah,
is engaging and personal rather than like.
Then we have a,
well, he's gonna rip.
So I'll send you a picture of it. I have.
One,
this is great. I mean, thank you for buying in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna take a picture. too.
Nonsense.
I think it's terrific.
No, I think it's.
It's very, you guys have done an amazing job, for sure.
This is a path that other towns can then just be like, we don't have to do our own committee, we can just kind of, tweak what we want. And,
Copy and
I
paste.
think that-
Yeah.
But the other thing is, to hear you say, I forget what it was good. Can you help the select board get the word out? I want the committee, I'm gonna report that exact phrasing back to the committee because they were going, do we have to do this all ourselves? So, and as much as you can do to bring, the regular process of developing town meeting sort of out of our sole responsibility to move the towns. We're big on things like, getting this designed. We're talking a lot about what might be there for food, that's the sort of perks that will make the meeting work. But obviously the mailing before the meeting is designed and or if there is a mailing, or if you're gonna just put it on the website, figure out a way.
No, it needs to be much.
I think the mailing is
Yeah,
great.
absolutely, yeah.
I don't mean this mailing. I mean a different mailing that has the sort draft board and draft budget in it.
Yeah,
Bunch of
that'll
work.
have to be, because that'd be too expensive to do 2 reports, but if,
I think, like you said, I like your idea, put a QR code on that thing that goes out, that takes them to the draft budget on the website.
Are you that tech savvy that you put QR and it puts it to?
It's
I
pretty,
can do that.
it's pretty simple, yeah, it's way
You do
easier
it
than you
15
think.
seconds,
Yeah.
like, that takes nothing.
Yeah.
so there are some things about the meeting that need attention. When, I don't want to cut off the conversation about publicity, but one of them is just the management of the meeting. This is a meeting that's gonna start at 6 PM. Our
really?
thinking is the doors would open at 5:30,
What day are we doing this thing?
January 23rd.
Thursday, the 23rd.
Do you think, so you're thinking we should do it earlier, even like 5?
The committee's conversation was, if you want people to get there after work, the earliest you can get people there
Yeah,
is
you're right.
5:30.
I agree.
So
That's true.
our thinking is open the doors at 5:30. The meeting starts at 6, but there'd be food.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people are could be coming likely right from work.
Right from work to the meeting.
Our thought also was not that offering childcare is probably not, as no one, at least for the children I raised, 6 PM is not the best time to be public with people.
I agree.
And so that, and this is why, and this is another on my list, this is why it's a hybrid meeting. So,
Stay home,
you know,
screaming
if
kids.
your kids are hungry and need you, then you would be home feeding them and you can attend a meeting hybrid. So anyway, I'm just letting you know, these are the things we talked about.
That makes sense. I mean, you know, if somebody happens to have childcare, it should, there, you know, because somebody might have to pick up their kids from childcare because they have to get them out by 5, but
You're picking up a kid who's been in childcare all day.
Right.
at
He's not
5,
gonna
they
wanna
are
be there.
Not gonna
You're
be dropped
gonna,
off.
you're gonna stay home and stay on Zoom.
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, so we don't need
I think
childcare.
the Zoom piece,
I was just thinking older kids, I guess.
The other piece of that, and managing the hybrid thing is something I'll come back to, but the other piece of it is, I think this is, we have some concern about what we're all used to is going line by line by line. And you started going line by line by line at 6
Yeah.
o'clock. We're gonna be there at 11.
Yeah.
And given his, Jericho's habit, so I don't have an answer for that right here and now, but I think it's worth thinking about how you want to organize presenting the information, and maybe it's by, category, and then picking out the lines that are worthy of discussion, not to cut off conversation if people want to think about the line. And we don't have to solve it here and now, but I think it warrants some thinking.
Right.
Given that this is not, the same, it's not starting at the time that town meeting would have been. So that's a different feature of the meeting.
If I
hey,
may.
can you say your last sentence again? The last thing, what's the last thing you just said?
The different feature of the
The
meeting.
different feature, because she said just, well, like.
Town meeting would have been at
you've never
10
done it
a.m.,
before.
started at 10
Oh,
a.m.
okay, yeah, okay.
And now it's starting at 6 p.m. So, there are other towns that have done that. Bolton used to do their town meeting
Yeah.
in the evening.
And some of our parts, that are pretty straightforward, we do just do the topic, and then if there's any significant changes, and then what the total is. And that probably can be done for pretty much everything, except when there's a significant change within that area. That would shorten the things. I mean, you'll spend a little more time on, you'll still want to go through line by line, but it's very short on the capital budget, because those are the big ticket items. And then, but I think for the others, we pretty much could do just, okay, like you showed, here's the salaries, here's, I mean, what's changing significantly is we're adding X, or we have to buy a new front loader, or we have to do this, or whatever.
I feel like we do kind of do it by group though, and
Oh, we do.
we get called out on the line whether we
Yeah,
wanted to do
exactly.
it or
Yeah,
not.
I know, there's
so.
gonna be,
Yeah.
there won't, there's no.
Remember the time I got yelled at for a while because we gave Richmond exactly what they asked for, and then
Yep.
someone called me out for like, because they gave me that part to present, and they're like, well, why didn't you give them more? I'm like, I was not prepared for that question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would definitely think about just going over the ones where there's a certain amount of change.
Yeah.
An unusual change.
or it's a big number.
Right, I think,
Yeah,
I think if you just like do, not necessarily like, okay, here's the treasurer, that's what theirs is, because treasurers, they don't really change. It hasn't, listers, you know, just the reappraisal would be one to call out. Highway is always like a big ticket item, you know, and so just basically kind of
Yeah.
skipping those, you know, regular ones.
Or just
and going
mention that
to-
it's changed by a very little,
Right,
you know.
Or you could say, for every staffing line item, there's a change of X.
It's
Yeah.
a 3.8
Percent.
increase for cost
Right,
of living, and
exactly.
we're gonna see that 3.8 across all of these salaries.
yep,
Yeah,
Boom,
Yep.
done.
yep,
Right.
yes,
Just anything you can do to streamline it.
yep,
And I will make an unusual attempt to politely shut people up.
okay, that's good.
It's part of
moves them
my,
along.
it's part of my skill. But I love the old
You
phrase.
every person Thursday.
You know,
No, I have not mastered that skill.
the old phrase is, I'll tell them to go to hell in a way they'll enjoy the ride.
Good job.
The hybrid, the managing of the hybrid piece of this
Yeah.
is not a minor thing.
No, it isn't.
It was a major part of the effort around October 5th, and Jennifer Nauer really, I mean, we were so lucky to have her. She's an incredible member of the committee, and she, you know, was just like, she and Angeliki were incredible in that October meeting. So she is not able to devote the same level of intensity to this upcoming 2.0 meeting. And this may be a place, we haven't yet figured out what that, I don't understand it well enough to be able to say this is exactly what we need, but we may, and I think this is a place actually where Susan Clark could help us. She was someone I called who, she's been a longtime moderator of the Middlesex town meeting, and she and Frank Bryant wrote the book about,
Yeah.
you know, town meeting, and she has been working with different towns across the state who are trying to do kind of what Jericho is trying to do, bring more people into the process, but keep it a meaningful process. So she's really interested in what we are doing. But I think she could be helpful, along with Jennifer, in thinking, what do we need to have, we're gonna need people just really managing depending, we only had one person, you know, attend by video on that October meeting, but that was a weekend. Early in the
10 a.m. on
process.
Saturday or something.
This, it could be
Yeah.
different, and so having, we're gonna need interface. We cannot ask the moderator to be moderating the people online as well as the people in the room.
Oh, we need to have an answer for that.
He would.
Anyhow,
Could have been here. I mean, somebody needs to. But
I would start with Angeliki and be like, what do you think? I mean, she's gonna know what we need. I'm guessing she'll be able to anticipate the types of problems we're gonna have to solve, and I'd be happy to work with her on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and you know, I don't know.
Angeliki takes part in, she's part of our committee, and
Okay.
so I can work with her. I'm giving a heads up because I think it could be something we come back to say,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is what we think.
here's our
we need.
plan, what do you think of it?
Yeah,
I know, 'cause
and
it's-
it may need help, financial help.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
possibly
talking
having
money.
like maybe a couple of volunteers on, like at a table, having their laptops.
Yeah, I think,
Running.
I think it's actually not that complicated, as long as there's a structure in play. I think that if there's one person, there's none of us,
Right.
one person who's on the laptop, and when someone raises their hand in the
Yeah.
in the Zoom, in Zoom, someone raises their hand in Zoom, they then raise their hand and get your attention, and I think that all talking from the audience needs to be
Yeah.
at a mic, which is you stand up and go to. That was part of the problem with the October meeting, was that people were just shouting stuff out and no one could hear
Yes.
online. So it needs
Yeah.
to be, if you're talking into a microphone, or you're not recognized.
Yeah,
I do think this is a place where we can learn from others. Like Middlesex for years allowed voting remotely.
Wow.
Until they were told that, by the way, that's not allowed.
It's illegal.
So they don't do it anymore, but they have had years of experience with managing it.
Yeah.
And so I just think this is a place where Susan had cautioned us about this, and given how much work it was for Jennifer and Angeliki last time, I'm not here to make a pitch yet, but I'm giving you a heads up that I think we'll come back and be more prepared to say, this is specifically how we think we should do it. And this is what I think volunteers can do, and this is maybe where we need some help.
You say that people can't vote on Zoom?
They can, but not in a formal, because ours
Not an
is,
actual vote, not an illegally binding vote, in a straw vote. In our
Right.
system.
Our system where.
that is all under discussion legislatively.
Yes.
There's a lot of
But
conversation
but
about
we're not
that
handcuffed
currently.
by that.
It's logistics, it's.
Because this isn't the technical
Yeah,
town
sure.
meeting.
That's right. There's just certain advantages to not.
Right.
Right, there's. I was thinking
Gives
of
a little bit
I was
of
thinking of a
leeway.
scenario that we don't have to.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, this is great, it's really, and have you guys be there with us, making this happen is terrific. I think maybe, it would be a good idea to come to an idea of who's doing what. And we don't have to discuss that now, but given the energy that I'm hearing from you folks, it sounds like we can come up with a plan to make sure that we've got all the bases covered and we know what the task force is doing and what the select board is doing.
Awesome.
I would think that the select board is gonna do whatever it does for town meeting day.
Yeah, which
We just-
I'll admit isn't a ton. Well, I know
But
what
no,
time I'm
there is
supposed to
stuff
be
we-
there and they tell me where to sit.
And
Well,
you
you're
know-
gonna,
but you know
I
what you're
mean,
talking about.
you won't, but we put something together, the town would mail it out. That's an
Yeah.
example.
Oh,
That's an
sorry.
example.
Yeah, that,
Yes.
plus our
Yeah.
informational
Yeah, that's on our
meetings,
nickel.
you know, it'll be
Yeah.
posted in the
Yeah.
website,
All the
put on
stuff.
Front Porch Forum, you know, and then they'll do the similar.
I thought they were talking about that, like the day of, like when we're walking in the building.
Well, I mean,
The day-
You better show up.
there's also that, you know,
You gotta show up.
who does what when type of things.
We have reserved the high school. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Oh,
We have reserved the auditorium at the high school. There will be basketball games that night. So there could be a level of hubbub out in the hall in a way that we're not accompanied, but you know, I'm usually back there
Make
anyway.
it more exciting, you know, like there's a huge crowd there.
Well, it could make more people aware.
I cut either way, because I won't be able to go to the meeting because I'll have
Me
to be
neither. I'm
watching.
gonna go
I'll have to
watch
be watching
the
basketball
Me too.
games and Duffers. Hopefully, gonna be on the team. We'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
Would you guys be mad if I went and watched that?
I'm gonna go with you. Peter's gonna go, wait a minute, this is my first time. I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though. I was just as you started to speak, I was wondering, but boy, I wonder. They're there a lot.
Yeah, there will be
They-
basketball. Yeah, and it will overlap in timing because it's 6:00.
Yeah.
So that,
And we have to figure out the logistics of, you know, where the food would be and what can be allowed in the room, what can people bring into the auditorium with them. And that kind of- And the cleanup. I don't know how that gets handled after town meeting.
talk to Jessica about that, she sets up, you know, the auditorium for town meeting.
Who?
Jessica.
Yeah.
Is it out there?
Yeah, she's the one who does all the.
Yeah, I think they actually have a sign, no food or drink in the auditorium.
But we do know people do.
I bring donuts in there.
And I sit up there, and you know we're on camera. I know.
I literally sit up in front of them.
Let me out of office if you want.
I didn't know that.
But it might be the cafeteria. Be available.
The moderator like to have a couple of muffins and a couple of coffee.
The entire select board, there's always, you know, there's all these bottles of stuff and coffee cups.
They get the text from school, like, you're not using that.
And the donuts and stuff are up there. And I see people in the audience the same way, but you're right, but we don't, you know, it's not everybody.
So I do think,
that getting the word out, any way you can think of to get it out, would be a great contribution. One of the biggest challenges that I think at least some of us see is making people realize that there is gonna be a hybrid meeting. This will say there is, just as these guys did. But just, there's a whole new way to do this. And it just somehow it needs to be talked up, throughout the town in several ways. So anything you can come up with along those lines. The hardest thing is gonna be
It is hard.
this innovation of a different way to go to the meeting.
Yeah. I think outreach is probably the biggest thing I've struggled with, on the board, right? I mean, there's one person in the audience that does, well, even she kind of works for the town, right? There's a few people. There's no one here that doesn't work for the town, other than the two of you.
Yeah, I kind of walked in here and I knew everybody up there and I said, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, like Sabina said, I mean, we're all so tuned into what goes on, but,
It's funny, yeah, and you'll talk to
percentage,
somebody
right.
who's, a parent of a kid at school, and they're like, okay, no, they didn't know, like, I know it's old, it seems like old news to us, because we heard about it so much, they have no idea what ARPA was. I'm like, we didn't know that we got $1.5 million from the federal government, like, it's,
but I
so
think
it's
as long as,
hard.
yeah, and I think as long as things keep puttering along and things are,
Working
seem
fine,
normal.
I can, kids have homework, I have work, I have to the laundry.
Yeah, and they just, and the town keeps, the roads are clean and, the streets are plowed, okay, the things are, functional.
Well,
They
and
don't think
also,
about
they
it.
elect really smart people to just represent them and then just let them do it.
And me as well. And Peter.
All right.
All right. Are you guys good? Dave and, you guys feeling like you have what you need from us?
We do have one more question.
Okay,
For the material, when in preparation for meeting 2.0, you're envisioning at that stage, what? You're imagining posting the budget on that same website that we will have sent people to through this, and putting notices in Front Porch Forum and that kind of thing, but you're not gonna send out a mailing with that draft in it or a postcard additional
no,
notice.
we're gonna send out the real town report with the final budget. Because that costs like $6,000 just to do that.
Right, so,
In late February, like after.
yeah, after, so, at that point, we were wondering whether it makes sense, again, for the task force to have an introduction to say, reminder, here's the process, here's what we're doing. And here's the draft, and the select board is putting together here's the draft budget that select board has prepared that'll be discussed January 23rd. I guess the question is there something you would want from the task force in advance, a written form in advance of January 23rd? Or should we focus on publicity in advance of January 23rd and you'll do all the explaining?
And thought about that.
So the question is, just to put it a different way, do you want a preface in front of both communications? That comes from the task force, since
We talked about it for the town
Yeah.
report, but
Right.
we had that question up.
Well, think about it, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand what we mean by a preface, like
something,
on that postcard.
No,
no, but.
when you post the
The
budget,
draft budget,
there'll be something explaining what it is.
yes,
And why we're doing it this way.
yes.
Well, in practice, over the years,
Wait,
though,
hold on,
we've had,
just like Dave finished up,
I'm sorry, but,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I talked too much.
Well, that's my question. Our question is, will you explain what you're doing and why, and put it in context? Or would you like the task force to create a preface of some kind to remind people again, here's process, we've done you know, town meeting 1.0, now they're coming up to 2.0. And here's our chance, you know, to comment on, ask questions about, and make recommendations on the draft budget of the town.
Thank you for interrupting.
I'm sorry, that was, you're the chair, I'm gonna shut up. I really apologize, I'm totally inappropriate.
No, it's because I'm so used, just my personality and all through the years, this is what, you know, I come from a family that, you know, extroverts and you talk immediately. And then you make very different conversations at the same time. So it's hard to control sometimes. What I envision at the moment, we have had people ask about this in prior years, is that the budget, as we work on it, is actually going to be always on the website, and we're going to let people know that. And so as each iteration that we come with, like tonight's part and then another part, and we're just going to keep filling in the budget until we have our big work session and put all the balls on the Christmas tree. And then you'll have the final budget. So anytime they hit the QR code, it'll go to the budget and they'll see whatever's there. And then at the end,
But would there
Then-
be
then we'll have-
value, wouldn't there at some point prior to January 23rd,
oh
be
yes,
some value in adding something saying, here we're coming up to January 23rd, and here's what it's about?
Maybe you have a blurb at the top of that. Of
Yeah,
that
the final
QR
budget.
code, so like budget's here, up here, like, here is the draft budget. This draft budget will then be finalized after this meeting, boom, boom, you know, flashing. I
Right,
don't
this
know,
is the
whatever,
topic
website.
for January 23rd.
right. Yeah.
This is now in the form we'll be using to hear your comments and.
That's what she's saying, is
Yeah.
like, and I think that's the place to do it.
Right.
Is right there where people go to look for the budget, and
Yeah.
communicate it as much as you can elsewhere too, but.
You say right there, you mean like the page that opens up and you scan the
Right,
QR
so like I go
code,
to like,
grab
all right,
the
where's the
page,
budget?
it's got that statement.
And I
Yeah,
go
right
and at the
there.
top, before you even get
Get
to
to the
the
numbers.
here's the budget as is, blah, 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 this will be, you know, and then you just explain in very short bullets, this will be finalized at this meeting. Here's how you get to a meeting, here's how you attend, here's the Zoom link, whatever.
And is that something you envision the select board writing and doing, or is that something you want
I think we can maintain
the
that on the
task force
website,
to-
but that said, if you have language that you think is going to help us, we're always open to suggestions.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Would actually like to make some contributions, and then you can do whatever the hell you want.
If you're willing to do it, I think.
I think
it's the last-
I actually
I
think
the final
consistency
draft that
is
goes-
better.
The final draft that we're gonna try to have by the 17th, which gets it to the planning commission early and everything else. If that's the
Planning
one that
commission.
we need to have, the 17th of January, whatever it is, it's a week before the 23rd. That's the one, because that'll be our final draft before public gets to change it or whatever they're gonna do it.
Mhm.
That's where we should have that last nice preface.
Would just send that to you, Catherine, or all three of you?
Send it to me as well.
Send it
To you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Getting exciting.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, you know, but that, I mean, the kickoff meetings, it worked.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, maybe this is gonna work.
It worked. There were I wasn't there. So all I know is what I read at comments and hear, and I think it worked. And people definitely had a sense of ways it could be better, which is
Yeah.
what we want.
Right.
You know, It was, we went long on the presentations.
Yeah.
But it was the first go round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was great.
No,
It was
it's
a
it was
damn
great.
good first.
I think it's,
To Paula by the 16th, I'm hearing.
Oh, James.
yeah, I mean, it puts the onus on the select board to make sure we have all our ducks in a row before this, by then so that this is what's gonna go to the people for the 23rd.
And when do you need our forward to the town report?
So that if you can get that to us, I would say, I'll say by the end of December. We'd like it a little bit earlier than that if you can. But
The only thing is that if it's good, we can can we leave a paragraph blank? Because if it's going to include, this is what we did
Yep,
on January 23rd.
yep.
Then
And then we
want to
can,
be able to
yep,
drop that
fill it
in.
in. Mm-hmm, yep.
It might be done.
Hey, it's just very exciting. And we're going to engage more people.
Well, I gotta say, we got a gang of about a half a dozen people in this committee.
Like more like 10, 12.
Is it 10? Yeah, but I mean,
It's a lot.
there's an active 10 or 12 of which there's a sort of hardcore, it's sort of like, oh, I can do that. And it's
That's
just
great.
made all the difference.
That's just wonderful.
Yes, it is terrific. It was a good group that, came together. Thank you for all you've
Yeah,
done.
thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. It's really, you
Yeah.
guys are doing a stupendous job. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it would be very important in future years to think about how you want to sustain this, and how you want to keep this. Because what is the task force's role going to be on a continuing basis? This is the first year with a lot of energy in play and a lot of talent, fortunately, around.
Yeah.
We got really good writers, we got really good graphics people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't think there are any other members of my family who are showing up.
Let the record reflect, Chuck actually was very nice to us, thanked us today.
He was speaking very highly of you as I walked in the door.
Let's make sure the record does get that.
Yes. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, Dave. Thank you.
Don't forget to take your jacket.
Um,
Thank you all for your time.
Nice to meet you.
Budget calendar together, there's already changes in it.
Yes. Yep, yep.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you in person.
Bye, Dave.
Okay, select board updates. Let's see. At the RPC meeting, just a quickie, at the RPC meeting last night, the full board approved the tip for the upcoming next few years, which includes, as I said before, when we were doing the preliminary, the bridge and various other aspects for Jericho. The other thing is, this Friday or at the latest Monday, the UPWP information will be going out
To apply for?
to apply for the UPWP. And they have simplified it this year for people who are, so that not everybody has to answer all the questions if you're just doing simple projects. That some of the other projects would require the information for. And then, because the food hub is very active with, like, it's had the August Blueberry community event, which was attended by, I think, 150 people. They're going to be doing one on January 8th at the Browns River Middle School, featuring the farmers with the winter foods. There is a movie that's a sequel to one that the Jericho Energy Task Force did in 2022 called, the first was Kiss the Ground, this one is Uncommon, this is Common Ground. And it's all about regenerative agriculture, soil science that helps with climate issues. And yeah, I don't see anything under the chairs there. Something's missing. And so I was able to secure the Deborah Rawson Library for the movie Common Ground. And it will be held the day before the meeting. We hope to do it after the meeting, because they didn't want to do it at the meeting because it's really for community building. It's to work with the farmers. People get to learn what the farmers are doing. But the reason this is very exciting is it turns out one of the principals behind the group that has done this movie that's called the In Common Ground group. Actually, one of our members of the task force knew this person. He gave me the contact. I contacted her. She spends part of her time in Vermont, part of her time in Colorado. She's willing to come to our meeting with the movie and talk about the movie and the process, as well as their project to say, transform 100,000 acres of agricultural land across the country. Wow.
Awesome.
I thought it was just like, it was so exciting because we're not, a few years ago, we were able to get someone who actually was presented before the UN, and usually this guy presented to big audiences, but he did it for the Jericho Energy Task Force with help from Underhill. So, I mean, it was a very, really, really exciting sport.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when is the movie?
The movie's going to-
Night before the
Before the dinner,
the dinner.
it's going to be January
January
7th. I'm going to look really weird that day because I'm having cataract surgery in one eye on the 6th. So I'll have my pirate patch on.
That'll be at Deborah Rawson.
That's at the Deborah Rawson, yes, and it will be at 7:00 on the 7th, and then the dinner is at the Browns River Middle School on the 8th. So it's very exciting, but I think those are the two things that I had in mind was the RPC and the TIP is now approved, so it goes on to the state to be part of the state transportation improvement program. And then it's spent on time today. I don't think there's anything else. I can't remember anyway. I didn't write it down. So you
I don't have
got,
anything.
you got, it's been a long week, hasn't it, Paul?
Yes.
I mean, this is, as Eric put, said, this is the time of year, everything gets crammed together.
It does,
There's a lot to be done.
Yeah. Just a few things, the road policy, it still has a few questions, out there, and then, like I let you guys know, Tyler wants to meet with you guys to discuss it as well. So we set something up, maybe, I don't know how you wanna do that,
We
but
gotta get this done, so,
The road policy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we need it on the next meeting.
Yeah.
We really have to.
Prioritize it, yeah.
okay.
We really do. Because, I mean, Black Walnut has been, he was
Oh,
incredible.
he's been great.
He was so patient through
Yes.
his time before with the
Yes.
prior administrator. And he's really been very patient, letting us work through the appropriate steps that it really required to have happen.
Mhm.
And so we need to,
Next meeting, tell him to keep his updates concise and manageable, and
right.
hopefully not in odds with
Right.
legal.
Right. The next thing is, I just wanted to follow up on Bob DeVos's letter that he gave to you to ask about putting in a question on the ballot. So I'm not sure, I just wanted to follow up with that and what you guys wanted to do with that.
Yeah, so we heard,
What did we say last time? Didn't we say we heard?
so last time he came,
Yeah, but didn't we talk about this and we said, yeah, so we heard your request and we're doing nothing?
I think we just need to say that in the
Yep.
public session.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're bringing it up now.
Yeah,
And it's-
okay.
And it's to
Gotcha.
say that, we heard his request.
we
Yeah.
But
understand.
I think our recommendation is that he go through
The process for petition.
when you get, the petition.
petition,
for the-
Yeah.
is it-
5% of the, I think
Is it
It's
5 or?
5%.
5% of the voters.
5% of the voters.
Yep. Yep.
Isn't it 5% We should look it up. I think, isn't it 5% to like suggest it to us and 10% to force us to do it or something?
No, 5%, if it, that's statutory, is 5% of the registered voters. And if, you know, and that's what most people do, if it is town business, and this would be town business. There were a lot of, during the, you know, early twos and stuff like that, there were a lot of issues that came up
Beyond the towns.
beyond the town's authority, but if people wanted to petition
Yep.
and for the select board to go ahead and accept it and put it on the ballot, it needed to be 10%.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, the charter has us at 15% for changes in the select board side. But, you know, we understand Bob has, you know, and we're sympathetic to the issue, but, you know, there is the community, you know, the Clean Water Drinking Fund, you know, has all kinds of very low interest loans and ways to assist small water, water districts. I mean, or homeowners associations or whatever, you know, share well.
The other thing is, just to mention, you guys got it, but I wanted to make sure it was in the minutes about the Affordable Housing Committee letter that you all received. So I just want to make sure that,
I'll be transparent. I actually didn't read that. I thought that was just more of the stuff from before. So what's the purpose of the letter?
so this was, the purpose of the letter is, it's asking, you know, they've completed their tasks. And what since they've completed the tasks, they're gonna reduce their meetings and the scope of work until further instruction from the select
I think
board.
we did get it.
Yeah,
I think it was in our packet.
No, it was in our packet and I saw it. I kind of skimmed it thinking it was just a
Right,
better
right,
version
right.
of the
Yep.
recommendation. I didn't read it, honestly.
Yeah.
but,
I
but
appreciate that,
it's,
because sometimes I forget to read some of the stuff.
but it is good to, you know, recognize that it is public document.
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
But, you know, and it makes sense that, you know, because they feel like, you know, we did what we asked them to do, and now they'll do their yearly, housing report and whatever other things that we may need to come up with.
And the other thing, the last thing is I did finally speak to Tucker Andrews on the Nashville Road letter. And I haven't heard from anybody else. They've all, I received the letter but he would like the letter just to reflect full support.
What does that
That's what the minutes say from the last meeting.
I know that's what Peter had said.
Yeah.
So I can just change that.
Full support sounds more ominous in what I was trying to avoid of the $30,000.
I know, that's.
So is that what he means? That
No.
we're gonna pay the not the 30,000, but the 30%?
No, but full support, because like even when we did Bittersweet, the town has to be the applicant.
Yes, correct.
But it doesn't mean you have to, you know, we don't even know, like I said, it's in the minutes, we don't even know if they'll even get the grant at this stage of the game because.
Right.
So,
So what is it that he doesn't like?
So,
I think he wants the word sponsor.
Yeah, so-
He wants the word
Sponsor,
sponsor
sponsor.
in there.
yeah.
And that's in the minutes.
Yeah, because we put resources to the project or to serve as project sponsor at this time that we're not agreeing to commit. And he wants us to take that out. The select board
agrees to sponsor,
agrees to sponsor.
Okay, that's fine.
that's fine.
Just feel like we're gonna get ourselves trapped into this all of a sudden.
Right,
Well, I can't
right.
believe you're not covering the 30%. I'm just
No,
real worried
no, we
about
make
that.
it very
We
clear.
now have 2 meetings of minutes to point to, and so
Right.
we're very clear that.
And I'm not saying we're not going to either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
We don't
because we
have to
hope
have
they
it,
can
right.
get the grant, but who knows at this point? I mean,
Right.
with all the changes that are coming down.
That's it.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're gonna sign warrants and then the minutes. Or maybe sign warrants, I mean, you know, so anyway, on the
So I
minutes.
have one question for Paula. Have you ever heard back from, Elizabeth? In my head, I just think of the van lady. the woman who was really advocating for the busing, and I think I connected.
Yep, you sent me, yep,
You
yep.
guys, has she ever reached out to you? Have you guys connected at all?
She has reached out to me and I told her where we were at. We were waiting for, because CCRPC was doing the study. They put the person on the bus, or V-Trans did it.
Yep.
They were gonna come back with a study. So I told her that as soon as we get that information, we'll follow up with her. But she wants to be a part of any
Whatever,
kind of
any
discussion.
work,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
great.
Well, and that would be good to have as a select board update once you find out too, because.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
So anyway, I have online.
There is one thing, I'm sorry, I forgot, but
Okay,
I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about the for the town maintenance facility.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to, in order for us or the town and it to go to the DRB, there had to be a change in the use tables.
this I think it's got a little one of these.
For it to say, to add in the use tables, municipal facility, town garage maintenance facility, under the open space. To have that as,
What she means is, in order to build the garage, we have to make a zoning change.
Yes.
yeah,
And we have to do it quickly.
And a
And it's
specific,
gotta go through and be done by January. And I already asked the question that you're gonna ask, and we've been advised not to do that. And, yeah, so I learned that today at the highway meeting, and I'm I'm supportive of it. We need to do it. It's the right thing to do. Chris explained it nicely to me, like,
Flynn or Shane?
Shane.
Flynn
Oh, Flynn
explained
and
it
the-
nicely at
yes.
the meeting, said it's in the open space zone. Can't go building a giant garage in the open space zone, so you gotta,
Yeah, 'cause
so
those-
you gotta make a small amendment.
the rules
logic-
changed while it was there, yeah.
The logical question that goes next is, okay, but we've been talking about a very specific table, this is okay. A very specific table that also needs to be changed, and we're told that that's way too complicated to get through, and so I harked up in that meeting, I'm like, so we're gonna make a change to zoning. Okay,
Very quickly?
so, yeah, and so it's gonna follow all the same things, it's gotta go, it's tight. Like, in order to get this garage to start on time, for
Yeah.
for all the dominoes to fall the right way, it's tight, so it's gotta, basically, they have to get their required meetings to the planning commission, change the right number of meetings, I don't know the specifics on any of these things, I just know the general thing. They have to get it to us for our January 2nd meeting. And so the next logical thing is, okay, but what about the table we've been talking about for
Exactly.
a long time?
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing I asked Paula about, and she handed me, unfortunately, she handed it to me in paper.
I.
I already lost it.
So sorry. I have another.
Should I read this into the public record, or should I don't know what to do.
You know-
Because we're talking about it in public session. Basically, there's a recommendation from Chris Shaheen, the town planner, that says no.
No.
This is more, we should not include the table update with this particular update because of the impact that updating the density table would do is a lot more impactful and requires more thought and planning and notice. And
Yep.
that's my very dumbed down.
No, that
Chris' nice letter. So I was ready to come to this meeting to say, we need to do this as part of it. And Chris anticipated that and has a good reason of why that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't see one. I got other stuff from, he gave me paper.
If you
Okay,
paper.
yeah. Or made a digital version when you get a chance.
Yes,
No
sir.
problem. See.
Yeah.
What she gave me, she literally, oh, this.
I was gonna say, that looks like, a book,
It's like
a real, you know, and then there's a very specific.
You gotta like, when we're reading at night, you gotta get a light, you gotta like.
Once you eat it.
So it's, 'cause you're supposed to read the whole book, or is it just the?
I don't know, Chris, Shaheen left it for me, I haven't looked at it yet.
Oh, he wants you to learn all the zoning rules now. Yeah, what's interesting is that the, Jericho Energy Task Force, speaking of the garage, on Monday was talking about, the issues with heating the garage.
That's the change that. is
Oh,
gonna-
okay. Yeah, because, you know, they're gonna have radiant heating on the floor, right?
Yep, there.
Well, it turns out if you use geothermal, stacked geothermal, that's very energy efficient, and Charlotte did that. They have a net zero garage. Their garage is net zero. That was just an article that came out.
So that means we would not need propane?
Yeah, that
Or you
propane would be
you still
backup.
need a backup.
If you had backup, the reason you don't want to continue to use propane as your cream when you're cooking, because it's imported and will be subject to even more tariffs.
Right.
And
I
then,
don't know that we're at a stage, I guess we're at a stage where we might be able to make that change, but that would be a pretty drastic change.
At this point.
but,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what.
but there is
today, too.
funding available for things like that from efficiency, and the state to make change, energy efficient changes. We're not talking MERV brand, we're talking other things. But, the other thing is, we really need to consider, and I advocated it from the very beginning, that both the offices and the conference room should be strictly on heat pumps. Because that way,
up there.
yeah, at the garage, because we can't, the efficiency told us that, you know, we couldn't do the big space because it's too big and the doors are open and closed all the time and stuff. But the rooms could be done that way they're comfortable in the winter, comfortable in the summer. And the idea was that there was a conference room supposed to be there, that people would be using that, and that's separate from the garage. And so you would want something that, heats differently anyway. And you get rebates from Efficiency Vermont.
But if you already have, I mean, I'm not a heat scientist and I understand that it can get complicated, but if you've already got this radiant floor going through the whole thing, are you really gonna be like, save money by like, oh no, exclude the conference room because we're gonna do that? Like, is it
Well,
really
it's-
gonna help that much if
I
it's?
don't think the
you've got
radiant
this
heating
cool
in the floor is gonna heat these rooms up there.
Think, boy,
Because they were talking,
I saw the. I can try to find it.
yeah, I mean, because I think that needs to be considered anyway. I mean, it really does.
No, you're right. It should be considered. It's just.
You know,
It's
and
really
there,
tight
and
right now
there
on-
is certain funding out there for these really interesting,
I think it's less, I'm wrong, I think it's less about the money, more about like saying, hold on, wait, back up. They change the plans, wait a minute, we have to push it back to this, for that, the ball was rolling and then this conversation should happen 6
Well,
months ago.
I've tried that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I've been saying it ever since
Oh,
we
okay.
talked about a new garage, Paul, I
Okay.
can tell you.
Okay, so,
But there were certain people who didn't listen to me.
yeah, yeah.
But it had nothing to do with Paul.
I don't know where the.
Look at all the papers.
Yeah.
Look at the problem. This is his point being made for himself right here. Yeah, this is why people can get papers.
Yeah. Thanks for these. These are, I mean, the amount I'm using, whatever this is fantastic. Look at this. Anyway, sorry.
All right.
I thought I had a old version of the plans that showed, like, there was a specific thing that you could see exactly where the
floor was.
where the floor was,
I
and
mean-
where the actual line, the radiant heat line went.
I got one here, Eric, if you want me to run up and grab them.
No, that's okay. I mean, just let me know. I mean, and I'll come in and look or you'll.
Okay.
Because you know, if we can, and it's not just for, you know, because if it doesn't, I understand the process. I've been trying for months and months and months to tell people this. But it's also about showing how we can save energy ourselves as a municipality.
Yep, you gotta
As
lead
an
by
ex-
example, right?
Exactly. All right,
Anyway,
back to the minutes.
Okay, minutes.
I think I signed all those.
Yeah, I think we're going.
On I haven't, it's lines 363 and 4 that need to be kind of, tweaked because it, combined
363.
362, 363. It says the next town hall art display will feature work by students, period. Well, yes, that's good, but that's the in January part. So you take away the period after students,
Oh, feature work by students in January, period.
yeah, and I'd like to add MMU art students, because that's who it is. Feature work by the MMU art students in January, period. Jessa has talked about doing respective town meeting over the years, to be scheduled for February, March. So that actually corrects the error that's there and makes it clearer for people.
To be scheduled in February or March?
February and March.
February
It's gonna be
and March.
February through March. Yeah, it really is February, March,
Okay, all right. Okay,
and that's what I
I have a couple things. The first one's a question.
have.
Line 22. Chuck Lacy said that a local developer who is attempting to permit a cluster of fourplexes on Route 15, is that accurate, Route 15?
It's what he said,
It-
because I was
it is-
surprised too.
it is, but-
I didn't,
He meant Jim Carroll's setup.
no,
No.
no,
No, this
he
is
meant a different thing. That caught me by surprise.
It is
Because I remember thinking, he goes, as you know, and I'm thinking, I don't know anything about.
No,
Route
I have
15.
the backup for it,
For what?
for what that comment.
Okay, but that's accurate. at all.
Yes.
Okay, great, okay.
If you want to pass that along,
Yeah, I'd be
just
interested.
read it.
I'd be interested.
I can make extra copies if you want, but
On line 260, like you guys have Leash to Monster, because now I'm getting it early.
I cannot believe this.
I read the whole thing. I didn't
260?
find any. I thought
On
they were perfect.
260,
Yep,
Stacy Pomeroy, a river engineer, looked at it. As opposed to looked it.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
at,
that's good,
okay.
that's good.
And then,
Sometimes the brain can see it without.
absolutely. And then, sorry, back on line 31. It says Susan Brzee said they will look at it, et cetera, but I don't think Susan said that. I think Catherine reported that Susan said that.
That's true.
It's saying like Eric said this, Catherine said this, and then it says Susan said this, as if Susan was there. I think it should say Catherine reported that Susan Brzee said they will look at it.
That is correct.
Okay,
That's what I have. Thank you.
okay.
I mean, that's, yeah. Excellent. So now we need a motion with,
I would make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second that.
Minutes of November 7th, 2024, as amended.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All righty, and now we move on to our favorite.
I will make a motion to go into executive session because premature disclosure of the information would be detrimental to the parties involved for reasons of personnel and legal, and I would like to invite Paula Carrier to this executive session, if I get a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you for doing me.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, good night all.